Hi, everybody on YouTube. How y'all doing? I'm Dave. I'm the guy who sits in this chair every single night and kind of talks to you about things that are weird and strange. Yeah, trimmed down the beard tonight, trimmed underneath the old chin there to make myself almost look presentable. And we're going to have a great show tonight. I tell you, this gentleman coming up, Chuck Bergman, he's a former police officer, psychic cop, now uses his abilities to help others, including police departments and law enforcement agencies. I am so interested in this topic tonight. You guys should be too, because this is going to be absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome tonight. And why isn't my microphone thing working for me? There we go. We got it all organized now. Chuck, I'm pretty happy about this setup here. Pretty happy. I'm feeling it now, man.
Good. I'm feeling it too, Dave. I've really been looking forward to this all week.
Good.
I know it'll be a fun night.
Good. You know, we'll take some questions from our audience in the second half hour of the show. Chuck, let's be honest here. When you were a police officer, you were rocking a mustache, weren't you? Back in the day, you were rocking a good mustache.
You know, I had a beard before I went on the department, but after that, no more facial hair, none.
Gee whiz, geez.
I know.
You know, it's only been the last couple of years here that they've actually allowed the Royal Canadian Mounted Police to start having beards.
I don't know if I like that look. It doesn't seem to fit the uniform look, really.
Well, you know, you get cold here in Canada. And
that's true.
Yeah. Let's give a shout out to everybody who's in our chat room. This may take a minute or so. Hey, Jack Clark, Adam Robbins, welcome to the show. Brett Lewis, you know, we can't start a show, Chuck, without Brett Lewis being here. I don't know why. We just can't. It's impossible. We have the Desert Rat. Minister Elaine is here. Kimberly, back for night number 2. She became an addict last night of this show. So thank you, Kimberly. Baby Yaga, thank you so much for joining us in our chat room for the first time. Larry, good to see you. Big Dog, thanks for coming in. Mark, good to see you again. Bee's Nest, always a pleasure to have you here, my friend. Thank you so much. Barther L and the Third Nipple Crew is back for the second night in a row, and we're very proud to have Barther here. Renee, you're looking stunning tonight. Nilbog, thank you for coming on in. Hi, Devin. Mr. Apnea, always a pleasure. Rich Hilke, everyone. The Rich Hilke is here. Sweet Donnie C, the gorgeous and talented Nicole Sackage is here. Boom. Waylon, how you doing, brother? Good to see you here. Nucker, appreciate. What do you mean, what did I do to the sound? What do you mean what did I do to the sound? I haven't done anything to the sound. Nothing. Barther, tweet me. Tweet me. If it sounds poor, tweet me. Because honestly, I haven't done anything to the sound. And where'd you go? There we are. Let's see. Kevin's here. Justin's here. Desert Clam. Sounds like you were taking my order at a McDonald's drive-thru. What if I turn that down? Is that any better? Because honestly, I haven't touched any buttons from last night, man. Nothing. Hey, Derek Edwards. Good to see you. Spookles the cat. Joe's Main. Oob to you. You've got aliens, man. You've got aliens. Let's try doing this. Turn that down a bit. How's that? Is that a good test right there? Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Way distorted. Why am I distorted tonight? Right. Let me see here. Why am I distorted? Give me 1 second here, Chuck.
No problem. You're sounding great on my end, but I think we're on a different link.
All right. Yeah. All right. Let's try that. Does that sound any better? Because I had my my main gain open right up here. I had it way opened up. So let's try that. Does that sound any better?
You'll have a cheeseburger and order of fries.
Yes. Try taking it down lower left knob a bit. Okay. I'm almost at the bottom there. All right. All right. Let's get this going here. And we've got about 20 seconds here. Super Chat is open, everybody. We do appreciate you helping on out. Here we go. Oh, we got 30 seconds. 30 seconds. All right, 10 seconds. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. Hit that subscribe button, YouTube. Here we go. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. What's it like to be a psychic cop? You know, police always seem to have this strange intuition, the good cops, that is, you know, because we do have to support everyone around here. And Chuck Bergman is an author, psychic medium, and a retired police officer who has had the ability to communicate with the spirit world since childhood. He has been profiled on television programs from A&E, the Biography Channel, and other TV specials. He's a frequent guest on radio shows, first time to this one, which we're finally glad to have him here. In addition to giving individual readings and hosting group forums, Chuck has assisted numerous law enforcement agencies across the country in their ongoing investigations. We're going to learn about that tonight. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Mr. Chuck Bergman, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
Doing well, Dave. Thank you for having me on. It's a great pleasure, a real honor. And just by hearing the people that are in the YouTube chat room and the way you acknowledge each one shows me the kind of a captain you are sitting in the chair. I love the way you run the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You know, it's something, if I didn't have like ADHD or ADD or whatever it is, I wouldn't be able to do it all, but I force myself to do it. And I have good people like Barther and many others around here who help make sure that we sound top notch every single night. So my team around me only is, well, they're way better than me. And, you know, because of them, we get the crowd that we do.
You're lucky. I'm doing it alone, but enjoying what I'm doing, to be honest.
Yes. Eva in the chat room says it's because Dave gave us pills. Yes, that's exactly it.
That'll do it.
My friend, let's learn about you for our audience members across North America who may not have heard your story. You know, when did you first learn that you were intuitive?
You know, it actually happened when I was about 6 years old, and it's kind of a cute story. It started off the book that I wrote. It's in chapter 1, how I was in the backyard of my house playing crossing guard. Here in Florida, you could, if your grades were good enough when you were in, I think, 6th grade, you could become a crossing guard and cross the children, you know, with a pole with a red flag on it, and you wore a strap with a badge, and you had this little, somewhat of a police uniform you would wear. So I was trying to make one of those and pretend I was crossing children. in my backyard. And I got to admit, I don't remember my age, but it was around 6, 7 years old. But what happened is I was trying to pin on a fake badge, which was made out of aluminum foil and whatever else, and it kept falling off and falling off. And finally, playing alone like that, I started crying. And out of nowhere, I heard a man's voice come in, and I could hear it. I mean, to this day, I can remember how fluid, how gentle, and yet loud and precise the voice was. And he used my name. And he said, "Don't cry, Chuck. One day you'll be wearing a real badge," which really did kind of make sense later on. And I remember, when I was in my early 20s, when they pinned on a real badge, it was a feeling of, I think this is what he was talking about, the voice.
No kidding.
And the funny thing about the voice is my mom went into the backyard when I ran in the house and told her that, someone had said those words. So she checked all around the yard and over the fence, no one around. And at that part of my life, I had no idea that my mom and my grandmother were both mediums. And they didn't want me to follow in their footsteps. So she discouraged me from doing this and even told me that, there was no voice, that it was all in my imagination. So if you can imagine, that's how I had to treat this ability and basically pretend I didn't have it. And I could never go to her when I did hear a voice or see a silhouette or see a face or whatever. I had to kind of keep it to myself. And it wasn't until later in years, in my early 20s, once I'm on the police department, which of all places, Salem, Massachusetts, known as the Witch City, that's where I become a cop naturally. And that's when I started to explore this. And I stayed with it ever since.
Having that episode as a child where your mother and your grandmother really wanted to discourage you from having this gift, did they believe it was some sort of curse on the family?
They did, and I don't like getting into this part of it, but my mom had a sister, and the sister, my mom was born in England, and the sister had the ability to the point where she was hearing voices and talking back to the voices. And I think up until her teenage years and everything, up to the point where they didn't know what to do with it and they didn't know what mediumship was. So they ended up putting her in an insane asylum, which is where she stayed till the end of her life.
Oh, my.
Yeah, so it was pretty horrific. My mom didn't want me to end up that way. So I think she was trying to protect me from that.
And back when you were a child and when I was a child and many of our parents and grandparents, that was the normal thing to do back then, was to just rid yourself of the child, make it the property of the state, the country,
Yes.
the province, and the government, because we had no answers to this. And being the fact that there was such a religious push on everything, that any sort of mediumship was really dragged through the mud as almost satanic or psychotic.
That's true. And unfortunately, even in today's time, even with all the television shows and all the evidence that we've seen, on television and read in the newspapers, there are still some people with that archaic belief.
I know. So when did you start honing your skills? Was it before college?
No, it was actually, I was on the police department, and a few years into it, probably, I don't know, around 10 years as an officer. And it all started on a ski trip when we were up in New Hampshire, and it was myself and 5 other officers just, taking a break right around Christmas time. We'd do our Christmas shopping up there and also spend a week, skiing and whatever else we could find to do in the pubs at night. Just have a great time up there. But for me, it was a situation where we were watching TV one morning, and James Van Praagh was being interviewed. And just before he came on, I'll never forget, they ran the striker on the bottom of the screen that said, "Up next, James Van Praagh claims to talk to the dead, question mark, question mark, question mark." Well, here we are. We'd had a few drinks the night before. We're kind of hungover. We're watching TV, and one of the other officers is in there cooking our breakfast. And I almost fell out of my chair laughing because I'd forgotten about all the stuff that happened to me as a child. I said, oh, we got to watch this guy. He thinks he can talk to the dead. And I didn't buy into it. So I know the feeling for people that don't believe in this stuff. But I got to admit, by the end of the half hour that he was on, he blew me away with the details that he gave a gentleman whose son had died while away on a ski trip over in Switzerland. And there was one part of that whole story where James gave the parents a reading, and he said, your son will be giving you a message. And I don't know what this means, but it will be a written message from your son. And what happened was, even though their son died, up in the mountains in another country, somehow someone located the camera during the springtime, and they were able to get the camera back to mom and dad. But this goes back to the day when they had the 35 millimeter film, and I never liked it, but it would have in red the date, in that squirrely font. And I just never liked that. It looked like it was burned into your picture. So as they printed out all the photographs from their son that he happened to have taken, there was one of him standing next to the mountain that his friend had taken. And I get chills even saying this, but the father, I think he was a heart surgeon, his father was well respected. On that photo only, where the date is supposed to be in red, it said, I love you. And that was the only photo out of all the photos that didn't have the time and date marked on it. It really was weird, and there were other things that James had mentioned, like a bumper sticker, and the dad said, yeah, we just put one on yesterday. Instead of saying I heart New York, it said I heart and then their son's name. And James even worded it that way. So I got to admit, James Van Praagh opened the door for me where I couldn't look at something like that and not get mesmerized by it, and say, wow, what is all this?
We all look for mentors. Have you ever got to meet your mentors in regards to this, like James Van Praagh?
I have. And actually, we became very good friends. And I've gone to many of his events, and I'll go there just to kind of see him. In fact, there was a funny story how when he showed up in Boston, I don't know, probably 3,000 people in the audience. And on the way there, I took a date, and I said, by the way, I've talked to him on the phone. He gave me a reading, and I gave James a reading because he was trying to get me motivated. I said, so after this thing today, we might get to meet him. We might get to go backstage with him or whatever. I remember she rolled her eyes like, yeah, right. James Van Praagh. And this is priceless. The day of the event, her and I go together, and we're sitting there, and he walks out on stage, and he goes, thank you, everyone. It's really nice to be here in Boston. When I woke up this morning, my mother in spirit told me that Chuck, the Salem cop, would be here. Where are you, Chuck?
No.
Yeah, and I looked at her, and I said, now roll your eyes. And I said, I'm up here. And he moved me to the front. He said, come up to the front row. He said, you can be my official photographer for the day. So, it was really cool to get to meet him on that level. And I've witnessed the guy do some amazing, amazing mediumship.
I got to ask you, kind of in contrast to this, when you get into the police department, there is a real strong bonding and brotherhood between you and your fellow officers when you get in there. When you started becoming a little bit more aware and a little bit more public and working on your own abilities, what were your fellow officers saying to you?
It was divided down the middle. Some were in favor, some were not. I mean, I would get guys that would come to my house because they'd want to connect with a mom or a dad or whatever. And I'd give them a reading. It would be remarkable, but it was always with the agreement. Don't tell anyone I came over. Don't tell anyone I'm on your side. Don't tell them I had a reading like this. And yet when they came, it would be pretty remarkable. I remember, and it would be on this level too. I remember one person came, and I was pretty new at this stuff. And I said, I have to tell you, there's a gentleman here coming through. I think it's your father coming through. And I don't get this, but he's saying he died at your wedding. And he did. And then I got to hear the whole story, so, but even that particular person said to me, make sure you don't tell anyone. Don't let anyone know.
Okay, so when that comes to you and you have your fellow officers chirping at you and kind of giving you the gears the way you give each other a hard time that only that sort of brotherhood and sisterhood can provide, it had to be hard when a lot of these lifetime friends that you have worked with, that you've been in the trenches with in some pretty dirty situations, all of a sudden they're saying, Chuck, I think you've gone off the deep end. Don't talk to me about that kind of crap.
You're right. It's pretty well the way they would word it, too. I don't believe in that. Don't talk to me about it. I don't want to hear it. And I think some people are in denial. They think they're never going to die. They think I don't know what their whole picture is of the other side, or maybe they don't want to accept they think by learning about it or, agreeing to it that they will die. But, I got news for everyone. Everyone's going to end up over there. And then you're going to find out for yourself what it's really like. Have
you ever had a near-death experience?
Actually, I have, yes.
How has that played a role in you defining who you are?
It was only a couple of years ago, and it really did change the way I look at day-to-day activity now, day-to-day life. I realize when it's time to go, it's like someone pushes a button and you're on the other side, you're gone. I mean, just talk about you have no control over it. There's no bargaining. There's no nothing. When it's your turn, you're out of here, and that's it.
Now, as a psychic, are there places you will not go with clients? For instance, we see a lot of psychics telling, people, get your affairs in order. You're 55. You're going to be dead by the time you're 58. Or we see them giving medical advice or things like that. It could be a very, very ugly field for people misrepresenting intuition at times. How do you deal with that?
I don't do that. I won't do that. I did it once, and it's funny, I pretty well use that same slogan. And it's worth telling the story because we got time. And this is a lady said, I think it was around September, and she said, my dad, he's living at my home with me, lives in the basement, but I don't think he's going to be around much longer. And I heard these words, and I know I heard them as words. I said, listen, I just heard, get all your orders, get all of your affairs in order because your dad's not going to be around Christmas Day. He will not be with you Christmas Day. I said, so you got a couple of months now, mend all bridges, make sure you're really at peace with dad and all of that, because this is what they're telling me. And I don't usually do that. I don't usually get into that kind of precision, especially I feel that when it's time to go, that's up to the big guy, not up to any of us to talk about that. But I do know that during that particular reading, it was given to me that way. He will not be with us on Christmas Day. So what happened is probably I'd forgotten about the reading, and then probably March, April, May, the same person booked another reading with me. And I went, oh, yeah, by the way, I said, remember that thing with your dad dying on Christmas Day? She went, oh, yeah, I remember that, but he's still alive. I said, then I'm never going to say that to anyone ever again. If I ever get an ending date for someone, I'll never pass it on to them. And she says, oh, no, you were right. I said, well, how can I be right if he's still here? Then she told me, she said she had to work the day before Christmas. She was working, and then she remembered the reading and said, oh, my God, Dad was okay this morning when I went to work. He's not going to be alive tomorrow, according to the reading. So I'm going to go home and check on Dad. So she, told her boss she was ill and wanted to go home to check on her dad. And what happened was as she's pulling, coming down the street to pull into the driveway, a moving van has backed up to her home, and her sister is moving Dad out of her house so Dad can go live with the sister. And they were doing this without letting, the one person I gave the reading to, they weren't letting her know that Dad wanted to move out and move in with the other sister. She was going to come home from work, and Dad wouldn't have been there, period. So actually the message was correct. Dad will not be living with you on Christmas Day because the day before your sister is going to take Dad away, which is exactly how it turned out. So my point is there's actually interpretations sometimes that we have to know and understand as a medium. And I'm lucky in that I also get feeling along with a message. So I can kind of feel now whether is this really pertaining to death or is it pertaining to something odd happening within the family? What am I really getting along with the message? So that was kind of an odd one. I've never had it since, and I try to keep away from that topic. If someone says, like, well, how much longer or whatever, and once in a blue moon, I do have to give a proximity, and so far, every time it's been right on the money.
That's got to be hard, though, when spirit, you're so in tune with spirit that they are telling you when the person you are looking at is going to die.
Yeah, and as a rule, like even when I'm out in public, I can pick up stuff on people, but not like that. I guess in my brain somewhere, I know what I do want and what I don't want. And I kind of don't like going down that road. I think dying is something that is very unique to every person, and something that, it's when it's time, it's time.
I know. It just sucks. It sucks. I'll be honest with you. I have a major fear of death. Major fear. Even though I've been shown some pretty incredible things, that there is an afterlife and everything, that would suit my personal beliefs. Honestly, it scares the daylights out of me as we got about 3 minutes to go here.
Yeah, I just don't want to leave what I do have here and all my friends and family.
I know.
And
feel
that's really what it's all about. You will get to see them again, but it's not the same. And that's what I learned from a near death, that you can be around all your loved ones, but it's a one-way street. They don't know you're there. They can't communicate with you.
Incredible. What's it like to see the other side?
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. The music, the colors, the feeling. Even the water there is different.
Oh, tell me about that.
I did a thing where I was in a rowboat out in the middle of the ocean with some spirit guy, whatever it was, and he says, "Come on, let's go for a swim." And we both had no shirts on. We had our trunks on, and we jumped over the side of the boat. We went down to the bottom. We could see fish around us, the white sand, beautiful sunlight coming down. And I pointed to him. I said, "I got to go up for air." And he mentally told me, "We don't need air down here. You can stay down as long as you like." And I remember feeling the water, but it really had no temperature. It just felt clean. It felt pure. And we kind of looked at all the stuff on the bottom down there, then finally got a little board or whatever, went up to the boat and started rowing back to shore. And then he was explaining to me how it was like on the other side. And I did all this during a meditation. So it made me feel like it was a cleansing, like I needed to get away. I needed what he had to show me. And it was totally different. It's almost like watching a movie when you're participating in the things over there that you're doing.
Did you get to see your loved ones?
Yes, you do. But like I said, the ones that have passed over, you'll definitely get to see them. And I've had them come through. In fact, my mom and dad come through together for other mediums all the time.
How do you know it's them? We got about 1 minute here. How do you know it's them? We always hear these stories that the spirit world can mimic or mock people or animals that have passed on. How do you have confirmation on something like that?
I know for me, because I've been with my own mom. I've seen her since she's been in spirit, and no one could mock it that well. But I've had other mediums bring my mom through, and they say, "Oh, I love her British accent," or they'll describe her to a T. In the same way with my dad, and his description will be absolutely perfect as well. And I'm positive it's them.
Are you afraid of an oops?
What?
An oops? Like, oh yeah, you're not mom and dad. You're.
Nah, you would know. You would know your own mom and dad, I'm sure. And I'm basing it on that. Plus, I look at, like I said, I did have a near-death experience, and I know what it feels like when you're out of the body.
Well, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Author, former police officer Chuck Bergman, his book can be found on Amazon. Psychic Cop. You know what I like about it? One title. Not one of them elongated titles that takes up half the cover of the page. Nice and simple. Psychic Cop. Chuck Bergman.
There's a story behind that, too. I'll tell you later.
All right, here we go. Break time now. That's a good, solid first half hour radio right there.
Felt good. You sound great.
Yeah. I thank you. Thank
No,
you.
you got a good flow. I wish I could do that.
I got a real face for radio, man. I should not be on camera on YouTube. You know.
Great attitude. I love it.
1 second here. I just got to open up the studio window. Maybe we'll get some aliens. Who knows? You never know who shows up at the window.
Oh, I know.
All right. Hello, Thurston Howell III. Where's Lovey tonight? Barther. All right, what do we got here? Give me just a couple seconds here.
You saying anything in the chat room?
Oh, yeah, they're enjoying you so far. Enjoying you. They're harassing me. You know, typical. You know. I awaken asleep sheep. Welcome. Much love from Florida. Do you know that person, Chuck? Is that you?
No.
Oh, much love from Florida. Chuck's in Florida. You know what happens in Florida? Alligators and sharks happen in Florida. That's why I'm never going into the ocean there. I've seen it.
I'll go in the pool in the backyard, but that's it.
Well, them snakes will get you in there. And alligators, I have seen the pictures. Good. No water, man.
You know an alligator can climb a chain link fence?
Yep. Saw a video of that. Mike L., welcome. Well, let's see here. Fap. Dave, you have a face for Grandma Rose and a stash. I know. Uh-oh. Bart's asking, know what I named my boat? Bart, I'm just gonna say it. It's gonna be Pecker or something, isn't it? Isn't it? Bart was telling this story in our chat room one night that he went to the grocery store and some old codger comes up to him and gives him the old up and down and says, you must have a big pecker in there, or something along those lines. He's standing there. What? How do you even respond? Like
How would you?
That is the wrong guy to be having that conversation with. Wrong guy. Was it Pecker or something else? I don't think it was Pecker. Yeah. Hey, Scarborough, good to have you here, man. Noble Patrick, good to see you. The Stu Gerson. Oh, I'm sorry. It was Prick, not Pecker. It was Prick. Like,
That's crazy.
Could you imagine?
No, I just can't see doing that to a stranger.
Oh, every time I think about that story, I just kill myself laughing. Oh, man. That is just way too funny. Way too funny. Anyways. Oh, yes. So we'll get into the whole psychic comp thing when we come back here in about 90 seconds. And let me go. Where am I going here? I think I'm going there. And don't forget, everyone, as we got about a minute to go, great way to support our show is to do a lot of shopping on our website. Go to the SOR Vault, grab yourself some swag, some t-shirts, whatever. Got some good stuff in there. Also, if you want to help us out, join the Space Travelers Club for like $5 a month. And the Super Chat is open as well. Hit that subscribe button, if you don't mind. Thank you for explaining the story, Bart. I appreciate that. That's good stuff. Good stuff. Hey, Chris Jarvis, good to see you here. The lovely and talented Steph Dickey, welcome back to the show. Hi, Shar. There we go. All right, guys, here we go. We got 10 seconds. Hold on tight here. Chuck, I'll be right back.
All right.
Second half hour is now underway tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we are talking with Psychic Cop. Author, psychic medium, Chuck Bergman is here, and we're going to get right into it right off the bat. His website, chuckbergman.com. Chuck, welcome back to the show.
Nice to be here.
Honestly, as I said right before the break, I am so happy that your title of your book, Psychic Cop, that's it. There's no 49-word second title on the book explaining it. You know, because sometimes that trips me up. But thank you for keeping it sweet and simple, my friend.
I felt the same way when I used it.
Yes, I agree. Tell us about the book. What made you write this book?
Well, the funny thing is it happened probably 3 to 4 weeks before I really fell into the mediumship and had things start happening for me. So in other words, up to this point, I'm like a lot of people. I had no reason to think about death or afterlife or mediums or psychics, none of that. But what happened was I was on patrol. It was I did the midnight shift at this point in time, so I was working from 12 to 8 a.m. And around 6 in the morning, the city's just starting to wake up, and I'm kind of happy they're going to work, but I'm going home. So it's kind of a good feeling, and the streets are almost empty, and I'm going down the one street. I'm going to go have a morning coffee with my friend who owns a, donut shop. So I'm turning on the road that he's on. And all of a sudden I heard the same voice that I heard when I was a child, pinning the badge on. And again, it was very simple, but very loud, very clear, very, very believable. And all I heard was, "You will be known as the Psychic Cop." And I'm looking around going, at first I thought it came over the police radio, like, giving me a car accident or an ambulance call to go on, or, a message of some sort. I had no idea where the audio was coming from. And, like I said, I kept looking around, nothing there. And I kept saying, what is that? What is a psychic? What is a cop? What is a psychic cop? What is it? So later on, when things did happen and I decided to write the book, I was trying to come up with a simple title for that reason. And I said, I got to name it The Psychic Cop after hearing that. So it's kind of funny.
Okay, so take us back to when you were an officer. Where were you working? And we know from the last half hour that you had a lot of people, of your fellow officers, some believing you, some didn't. But when you were on patrol, how were you affected by the messages that you were getting?
Well, to be honest, the voice, I've only heard that maybe 5 times in my entire life. But when it comes in, it's so precise, so clear. I remember that when we had, years back when 9/11 happened, I woke up that morning and I heard one word only from that voice, and it was war, W-A-R. And I remember when I looked around and said, there's that voice again, but we're not at war. And of course we were a few hours later when I started seeing the planes hitting the towers and all that stuff. Another time I woke up one morning just before my wife was getting ready to leave, the Boston area to go to California to visit family. I woke up that morning and I heard the word plane crash, and it was the same voice. So I've only heard it about 5 times. And then I had to, I thought about it. I thought, well, I don't want to alarm my wife, so I'm not going to tell her yet what I heard because she's not leaving for a few days anyway. But I was going to let her know, but I wanted to think it through first. And wouldn't you know, that was the morning that the plane crashed in New York City, the one that they think was taken down by a missile or some strange.
Remember that?
Yeah, something strange took it down. But I did hear the word just plane crash when I woke up that morning. So it's not like I get to hear this voice a lot, but I do get to see, I guess you'd call them like premonitions, almost like daydreams coming in. And I would get that when I was working, on patrol. And I think you hit on something earlier too about most police officers through experience have to learn to become very intuitive or very psychic. So if they are stopping a car and there's 4 or 5 people in it, you got to be on your toes. You got to kind of watch every movement, but you also got to depend on that little gut feeling you get before you even approach it. And I think most cops have that ability a lot stronger than the average person because they're dealing with this stuff several times a day when they're at work.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I see, I can understand the fact that, when you put that uniform on, you put the badge on, your senses are heightened because everything is about safety. You never know when you're going to come around a corner and there's going to be somebody with a gun. You never know what kind of call you're going to get out to. You never know what you're going to have to see or deal with, whether it's a car accident or something involving children. I just couldn't imagine the range of emotions. So how did that take a toll on your own intuition?
I kind of used it for my own, whatever you want to call it. I used it to build on my intuition. What I would do is once an arrest was made or a little bit later when I worked in special operations, I would spend a little time in the detective division talking to them. And what I enjoyed doing is if they had a case in front of them with say 3 or 4 people that are being interviewed by the detectives, I would pull up a chair and start working on a computer or make it look like that's what I'm doing. Because at the end of the last 10 years of my career, I was a computer analyst for the department. So I would go from office to office and, update the computers, do whatever I had to do. But what I was really doing half the time was sitting there and listening to each person, listening to their story, reading the body language. But more importantly, I was using my intuition to say, is he lying? Is he the guilty one? Or what can I pick up? And I would make notes of it. And then later I would be able to compare that. So it's whatever I thought was, information I was receiving, I at least had something to compare it to. I'd go back to the detective later and say, hey, is this the guy that pulled the trigger? Is this the guy that drove the getaway car or whatever it was? Or, hey, number one guy was really lying through his teeth, no doubt about it. And I had something to compare it with, and typically I'd be right on almost all of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so, you're building your own abilities here, but, the emotions of the job, the stress of the job, did that not affect you?
Not really. You I think all police officers have their own built-in mechanism so they can deal with it, whether it's joke about certain things or a lot of us, it's like having a jacket on at the end of the shift. You take it off, you hang it up, and that's where you leave it. You don't take it home with you. But to me, it was all about, if I have to go on a call, I want to go in and not lose focus of what my job is. I don't want to get hysterical. I don't want to, I don't want to be crying. I don't want to be out of touch. I have to maintain this level for every call I go on, no matter how serious it is.
So when you would have these psychic intuitive communications or these feelings, these vibes, whatever you want to call them on the job, how did it affect what you were doing on a daily basis?
I think it helped. I really do think it helped. I had different cases where, just say I'm arriving a little late, but I already know what street the bad guy is running down, or I could almost scoop him up anyway, and say, okay, I know you're the guy. And I just can't explain the knowing, and I would know what street they're on. I'd know what they look like. I would know in advance. And another odd thing I could do, not on every case, but on a lot of cases, I could be at the opposite end of my beat area, and I would turn around and head back kind of quickly to the other end of the beat saying, I've got to go to the 7-Eleven or I've got to go to the Home Depot. I know they're having a problem. And sure enough, I'd get the radio call. So you can't discount that when it happens time after time again, where, like, why am I getting this information? Where is it coming from? And what do I do with it when I get it? So it was like a stepping stone. I learned from it, no doubt.
Was it more clairaudient, clairvoyant?
It was a knowing. I can't even explain it. It would be more on the idea if, like you right now, remembering the last time you just say, let the dogs out. It would be that kind of a memory, or that, like, you're that comfortable with thinking about it going, okay, I'm seeing this case before it even happens. So it is strange, no doubt, but I use that as a stepping stone to help me tune in, to help, just help with the process.
Did you ever get any other of your fellow officers coming up to you and saying, I have the gift too, and it scares me, or I don't want to talk about it, I don't know how to talk about it? I mean, because that can be a pretty emotional conversation.
I did have a couple of officers do that, absolutely. And also even clients that, I've had come to the house or whatever, or telephone readings, or people I've met outside that are afraid of it, and they'll get certain messages. And that's one thing I've learned too. If you start getting these images or information like a regular medium would, and you're not cut out for it, you're not ready for it, or it frightens you, usually they'll shut down. They won't bother you anymore. I hate when I use the word they, it's like the spirit guides on the other side, or whoever's controlling all of this will know that you're not a good candidate for doing this. It's kind of like they pick out who they want to do it.
I can imagine what that Can you take us through one of those conversations that you had with a fellow officer?
I do remember one in particular where we were walking in his neighborhood. I think I went there for a cookout or whatever. Then we went for a little walk around the block. And what happened was, I have to laugh when I think about it, but we go around the one corner on a little side street. He goes, see that little church? And I said, yeah. And he said, people there are really weird. It's a spiritualist church. They think they can talk to the dead. And he said, I used to be okay with that stuff, but not anymore. I don't like it anymore. And he said, a bunch of weirdos go in there. So as we're walking by, I'm memorizing the marquee out front, like, okay, a service on Sunday at 7:00, I'll be here. And sure enough, I came back like a week later, and I went to one of the services just to see what it was like. And now, like I say, here we are in Salem, and they have mediums that will go up, to the pulpit up front, and they give a lecture like I would get at any church I go to about God and helping people and, good stuff. But then they'll have a medium come up and give people in the audience very, very good readings, or very insightful readings to help guide you through your life. And here, this was being my first time in a place like that. I remember the lady picked me, and the first thing she said is, I don't know anything about you, but I see alligators around you. Which, how accurate is that? Knowing that I moved up to Salem from Florida. So, and then she described my mom, described my dad, and gave me some other information. And it was just like, I felt it was meant to be, and I got to be the judge of it. Did I think it was real? Did I think, it was information handed to her? Or, how did I feel about it? And I felt it was genuine. So that kind of helped push me along this path also.
When you were in uniform and you have something intuitive happen, did it ever lead you to being at the right place at the right time to help someone, save someone, or just quell down a situation?
I'm sure it did, but it would happen in a very passive way. It might be like around the corner at just the right moment. And yeah, you do stop, or, you do take action on it, but it's kind of like that with a lot of officers who just happen to be lucky or unlucky, whatever you want to call it, that they round the corner. And, bingo, there's the guy everyone else is looking for. I'll never forget the time I was on the police motorcycle, and I was in a little neighborhood, a little small neighborhood, and there were like three guys and really racing around the neighborhood fast. So I pulled them over, and I didn't, I wasn't really planning on a ticket or anything, but I was going to speak to him about the driving. And I always called out every vehicle I stopped. I wanted, just in case something happened. So I called it in, called the plate number. And as soon as I did, and I walked up to the door with my radio on, you heard the words, "Every cruiser in the city, give Chuck a backup at this location." Now, the guy driving gets to hear this, and I didn't know it, but he had just committed an armed robbery and a pistol whipped the owner of the store in the community next to us. And it was so recent, so fresh, that they hadn't heard about it in Salem yet or given it to any of us. So there, it was kind of like being in the right place at the right time to get this guy. But it was so funny in that I just said, I don't know what they did, but to send every cruiser in the city up here, it's got to be pretty serious. So, I took all three out at gunpoint and said, just lay on the ground until I get it back up here and I'll find out what you did. And, I got to admit, it's almost like they were afraid of me. Like, this guy's got superpowers or something. How did he catch us so quickly? They thought I already knew about it, and I didn't.
Oh, geez.
So, yeah, and it could have gone bad. It could have gone real bad if I had, just say, taken the license, walked back to the motorcycle with my back to them. Could have gone real bad, so. But there was something, almost like I had protection around me or something. I can't describe it.
Were you ever, with your own intuition, led out of a situation that saved you?
I know it's happened, but I can't think of it offhand. I know, even boating-wise, I know it's happened, where I'll get a premonition or I'll get a vision or a feeling that's really strong. But nothing's really jumping out at me because, this is daily life for me when different things like this happen.
Oh, wow. Wow. I was just reading up on you here, and I believe, if I'm correct, you're a Vietnam veteran of the United States Navy.
Right.
Thank you so much for your service. We have a number of Vietnam veterans who listen to this show, and we just want to say a big, warm love and appreciation and admiration for your service.
Thank you.
Did you have these type of premonitions when you were in a war zone like that?
I was on an aircraft carrier, the Shangri-La, and then later on the John F. Kennedy aircraft carrier. But the Shangri-La was the one I was in, on the cruise in the Gulf of Tonkin. And I worked radar and stuff like that while I was on the ship. I would say the only thing I did visualize, and it was really painful, is sometimes I'd be on the radar scope talking to a pilot and, charting his location, where he's at, and kind of validating what he's seeing on his instruments. And once in a while, you'd hear him get shot down while they're talking to me. And I would hear their final words, and there was something really eerie about that. But I always felt like it was almost like I was going inside their brain or inside their energy, if you will. It's like I would know that they had a wife and 3 kids, or I would know more about the pilot than just a guy talking to me on a headset on a 2-way radio. But then it was early on, and I didn't quite understand. I thought everyone would have the feelings that I would have, but found out later that wasn't true.
If you don't mind, and if you really don't want to answer this, I'm very much okay with that. But if you allow me the ability to just ask this question regarding that, when you were in that war zone and you hear something along those lines, listening to the communications of a pilot and maybe a co-pilot or a navigator getting shot down, and hearing those last words, what goes through you, not only as a human being, but as someone who is intuitive as well, and getting all of these flash forwards to and flashes of their family? I mean, how did you deal with the emotion of that? Now, like I said, if you don't want to answer that, I'm very much okay with it.
No, I felt that, I had to deal with it. I didn't tell anyone around me that I was getting a little bit more than they were, probably, but because I never heard the other guys mention that. They would, also hear pilots go down, but never talk about it. And I kind of wondered about that because for me, it was very devastating. I would almost freeze and I would almost feel like time stoppage when the radio signal was broken, and that's when the plane finally hit the ground. And to me, I can't explain it. It was like time would stop.
Oh, wow. I mean, I just feel emotional you saying that.
It was hard, but at the time I really didn't understand. I thought knowing someone just died and I'm the last one they spoke to, that's pretty frightening. That's pretty scary.
Did it, maybe this is a rude, crass question, did it happen a lot?
No, not as much as you would think it would, especially for a war environment. I got to admit, we didn't lose all that many planes. And I don't know if it was technology on our planes or I don't know what it was, but we truly didn't lose that many. I don't know what the ratio was. I don't want to guess at it, but there was probably about 10 that I heard go down. I was over there we were supposed to be there for 6 months, but we ended up there for like 14 months. So we were in Vietnam a little longer than we were supposed to be.
No kidding. One final question before we move on, as we got about 2.5 minutes here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. Chris Bergman is our guest tonight. Did any of these pilots ever come back to you to say
No,
thanks?
they did not. No, but I have had murder victims show up in my bedroom on cases that I've worked on and wake me up in the middle of the night.
I'm a little stunned by that. Do you think because of the tragedy of the situation that they probably just went home?
Probably, and I think I wasn't developed at that point, and if I would think, yeah, and they can travel at the speed of light, so they could be home with their wife, kids, parents, whatever, at the speed of light. So why would they want to come and visit me on a ship?
I don't know. I just find it completely intriguing right now.
It is intriguing, and even to think that they're hitting the ground like that, everything's going to explode, but you can't damage the energy of the soul. That's pure energy. You can't burn it. You can't crush it. You can't damage it. So it's probably going to just simply rise up, and guaranteed within a short amount of time, someone at home is going to realize that, so-and-so just passed away. Usually a wife will feel it right away.
Yes. I totally understand that. And I can totally appreciate what you were saying. How old were you when this happened? Were you 18, 19?
Let's see. Yeah, because I was about, right around 19 years old.
My goodness. That's a lot of stress for a young man. Thank you for doing that, by the way. Thank you for doing that.
You're very welcome.
But when we come back in hour 2, I want to get to some of these cases that you work on with other law enforcement agencies. This just totally intrigues me because I think it's so important that somebody of your intellect and intuition, your understanding of law enforcement really gets in there to help from a spiritual side of things. And I would love for you to share a few stories with our audience, if you don't mind, when we come back.
I'd be happy to. Sure.
Yeah, that would be absolutely great because I'm intrigued by it. I want to know how it works. And I think a lot of us.
I don't even know how it works yet.
Well, you got to break it. You're the
out.
expert. You got to break it down for us. Chuck Bergman is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Psychic Cop. What's it like to have intuition? What's it like to help police agencies solve crimes through intuition? Next on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we're clear. I'm just going to run my dogs out, okay? So
Very good. I'm going to run in and grab my phone real quick.
Okay.
If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month. And follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Hi. This is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything.
Let me turn down the commercials. I am back. And where'd my headphones go? They fell back here.
And how much time do we have?
We have about 90 seconds.
You got 30 seconds to hear something you'll never forget?
Sure.
Okay, this is the wife of a state trooper that died on duty recently, within a couple of weeks.
Just so you know, our YouTube audience will hear this. Hold off on it.
Okay.
Hold off on it. Don't want to get you in trouble.
Yeah, it's kind of...
If it's personal, don't want to...
Yeah, I'll email it later.
Sounds good. We got about 45 seconds.
All right. I can tell you verbally what happened, though. It's not a big deal.
Well, we could go there during the show. 1 second here.
Yeah, I can give it in generic form without, identifying anyone.
Whatever you're comfortable with. All right, my friend. All right, here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. All of our archives are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Favonian. Favonian is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter @SpacedOutRadio and on Instagram @SpacedOutRadioShow. Tonight we are talking with the author of Psychic Cop, Chuck Bergman. Real life story of him, as he was a retired police officer out of Massachusetts. He is a psychic medium working with people with his gifts, and he helps out law enforcement agencies solve crimes, cold cases, old cases, places and cases that they just may not have enough information on. Chuck, welcome back to the show. We should mention your website as well, chuckbergman.com. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure to be here. Having a great time tonight.
Wonderful. Now, this is the part where I want to get into. This is what really intrigues me about your entire story, is helping law enforcement agencies try and solve crimes. There are literally hundreds of thousands of crimes over the decades that have gone cold, that have no answers, people disappearing, people murdered, people having things happen, and we have no answers whatsoever. How did you get started in this?
I really got started more after I retired from the police department. I had more time then to dedicate time to doing this, and because a lot of it is going to require travel, and I've been around the country doing what I do. And it all started when I first retired down to Florida. I moved to Florida right away. And in fact, that was an amazing case where a family in California called and said their son had been missing for 8 months. They didn't know if he was dead or alive, and had very little information to work on. And I told them, when they were asking me if I could do that type of reading, I said, sure, I'll give it a try. I'll see what I get. It was no charge or anything. I just wanted to test it, see what it was all about, see if I could do it. And in that particular case, even though he'd been missing for 8 months, they told me that the media, the police, search parties, everyone involved are giving up hope, and it's turning into a cold case, and nothing will be done. So you got to feel for the family, like, what an awful thing. Your son is missing, and you don't, there's nothing you can do about it. But with that case, I remember as soon as I got them on the telephone, which was amazing, I'm looking out my office window into my backyard and then the wooded area, at the very end of my yard. And it's just funny how things will happen, but I could see like fingers that were somewhat, sounds a little gory, but kind of bloody, and one over the other, one hand over the other, like climbing rocks. And I said, I got to ask, was your son a rock climber? And the dad spoke up. They had me on speakerphone. He said, Chuck, he was an avid rock climber. Yes, absolutely. I said, okay. I said, I don't want to jump the gun yet, so we're going to get a few more facts. And that's my style. I don't want to jump the gun and say, oh, I'm talking to his ghost or his spirit. He's dead. I don't want to say that. I want proof. I want, things that I can kind of prove later, I guess. Anyway, I said, okay, I gave a few things about him, and they're saying, yeah, that's him, that's him, that's him. But then I got to the point where I said, I got to ask, does he own a green Chevrolet pickup truck? And they said, oh my gosh, yes. And I said, okay, because I feel like I'm sitting in that truck right now, and I got to tell you, it's filthy inside. I've got hamburger wrappers, vodka bottles that are empty. I've got a filthy windshield that I would never try and drive with a windshield like this. I said, does that sound familiar? And the dad laughed. He said, you're sitting in my son's pickup truck. So now I'm wondering, well, what is the point? Why am I getting this vision? Why am I sitting there? Then it was like a movie camera as I'm trying to look out the windshield in this little vision, but it was like lowering the camera and zooming in on the instrument cluster, the panel. And I'm looking now at the little trip meter with a little push button on it. You do the reset. And it said 139 for 139 miles. And I'm going, okay, 139 miles. And then I heard the words, yeah, from their home in California. Now, I don't know where they're at in California. So now I'm thinking like, well, we got a whole, a radius to work with here. So I don't know if the mileage is going to do any good or not. And as I'm looking into my wooded area, almost like you see on the news or the weather map on television, when they'll do the little silly clouds that are thundering and lightning and a temperature maybe floating by, I'm seeing numbers floating by over my swimming pool area that clearly said 020. And I said, wow, I wonder what that's all about. And then I thought about it, and being in the Navy, working radar and everything, I said, that has to be a heading. So I said to the dad, I said, take out a map, and where your house is, I want you to go north, 020 degrees, and mark it off at 139 miles, 140, 150 will work. Put an X. He's telling me that's where you'll find the pickup truck, and the body is next to it. Now, again, that was a pretty rough statement to make to a family, for my first try at this stuff. So he marked it off and everything. I said, without you telling me, I said, where you put the X on the map, it should be a two-part name. And I want to give you that name, but he's not that clear on it. But I'm seeing the first part of the name starts with the letter S as in Sam, and then a space, and then N as in Nancy. So it's S something N, and I can't make out the word. And he said, well, where you're putting us is exactly in the Sierra Nevada mountains. I said, well, yeah, that would plug in. It's almost like playing a word game at that point. So anyway, I gave him more information, talked about him and why he ended up ending. He did end his own life. No one did it to him. He admitted to that, gave me information on it, and even talked about he was going to get married. And then he found his fiance having an affair with his best friend and all this stuff. So there was purpose for him doing what he did. I'll put it that way. The case ended up where the very following day, I get a call from California, a detective office out there, and their first question is, Mr. Bergman, have you ever been to California? I said, no. No, don't look at me. I didn't do this. I said, I've been up and down the East Coast, but I've never been, west of Texas. So you can't pin it on me. And they said, well, we listened to the recording, and we couldn't even get to the area that you described. We had to fly a helicopter over that area. The pilot spotted the truck, and we had to get up there on ATVs. And he said, we've been looking for close to a year for this kid. How did you do it in 8 hours? How did you just, But it goes to show you how once that happened, it kind of like I felt like this is my calling. This is what I should be doing, not just simply giving readings for people missing mom and dad, or not that that's not a big deal. That's a very big deal. But I think solving different crimes to me is very amazing.
Well, I mean, that's what you're used to. You did it as a police officer, and, I mean, that's a major calling. It's obvious that the police would call you. I mean, being that accurate. Were you seeing the visions, or was the son telling you this?
I think it's the son, along with, I think it's his energy, his spirit, along with the energy of other spirits that are up there helping out, whether they're angels or whatever you want to call them. I think they do have other help. And I think my own mom and dad in spirit also help with these type of sessions, because they know how to work me. Sometimes they'll give me, like, just say this wasn't a green Chevrolet pickup truck. I own a white Chevy, I own a white Ford F-150. So they might just say, it's like your truck, Chuck, instead, because that would be quicker and easier. So then I could say, oh, it's a Ford F-150. Because my parents would know what I own, what I do, and what I've seen in the past. And otherwise, they have to create that whole image. And here they had to create the Chevy emblem for me to see it. They had to come up with the color. They had to give me the way it looked inside. And I think for all purposes, they had me inside that vehicle, because it was amazing how I looked right down at the trip meter, and I could even see the little reset stem that you see with the little, I think it's got a little turn left and right thing on it too. You can adjust it or press it in to reset. But it was amazing the clarity of everything that I saw in that case.
No kidding. Now with that scenario, when all of a sudden the police call you up and are questioning whether or not you might potentially be a suspect, you of all people would be prepared for that, with being a police officer as well. So were you prepared for that call to come?
Yeah, it was almost like you and I talking earlier. Like as soon as they said it, I laughed it off, because I knew there was no chance in the world that they were going to convict me of a crime. I've never been there, so I know they've got no evidence, and and I knew they were saying it to say, how can we be searching for 8 months and yet you do this in a matter of 8 hours? And actually, I did it in 1 hour as a 1 hour reading. So, but I understood their dilemma. Like, you're over in Florida. How are you doing this? And by the way, I've done cases in Germany. I've done pretty much around the world on Skype.
Interesting question from Shar here in our chat room. Have you ever had to expose crooked cops while investigating?
The answer would have to be no, but I only saw one crooked thing the whole 32 years I was on. And it wasn't even that crooked, really, but it was wrong. And I'll say it because it's so low level. It's so funny. Where we had a guy that was going around the city. He had different people he didn't like, and he'd pick up a rock and throw it and smash their window and set off their alarm and then take off. And then he would listen to us on a police scanner. He thought it was great. So in this one case, he smashed one set of windows on one building, and then the detectives were hiding at another building that they assumed he would hit next. And the kid pulls up in the darkness, picks up a brick, throws it, and takes off. And when he hit it with the brick, it didn't smash the window. So one of the cops smashed the window instead. But that, it was wrong, but it was low level. But that's about the only thing I ever saw, to be honest. I got to say, it was a very straightforward department. If they didn't have a case, they didn't make an arrest.
Mm-hmm. All right, question coming from Annie here in our chat room. What caused your near-death experience?
It was a health issue where I had to be med-flighted to a larger hospital. And it happened while I was in flight to the second hospital where, when you're in the gurney or the stretcher, on I think probably any helicopter, you're kind of like strapped in and you're up a little, so your view out the window or at the ground is pretty limited. In fact, I don't think if I turn my head to the left, I don't think I would even see what's going on. But mid-flight, I remember climbing out of the stretcher as a spirit, if you will, and I walked and I can remember I was even a little bit seasick and kind of holding on a little because it wasn't bad moving around in there, but it wasn't totally stable either. And I remember kind of like leaning on the seat of the pilot of the helicopter, and I'm watching his feet on the controllers. I'm watching the stick. I'm looking at all the dials. But the amazing thing is I'm looking just above his feet. There's open window there for the pilot, to look outside along with the windshield. And I could see streets below us, and some of the streets were like orange clay streets that we have down here in Florida. And I would see cars like traveling toward each other, and even the cloud of dust, behind both of the cars. And I was surprised from the air view how big that cloud really is behind each car as they're passing each other. And then I turn and I look, and the attendant, who's supposed to be watching the monitor and all that for me, is sitting there texting or playing a video game, or, his fingers were going crazy on his iPhone. But it was more the clarity of everything that I got to see and the way I felt. And the feeling I had was, number one, I'm not seeing any angels. I'm not seeing my mom and dad. But I don't feel like I'm going to die, but I know I'm out of my body right now, and I know I'm experiencing this. And it was just a feeling of, I know I'm going to make it. And the next thing I know, I'm back in the body, and they're wheeling me down the hallway and, taking me to ICU. So it was so graphic and so real. I know I left my body. Oh, and that was one thing too. The whole time I'm looking at what they're doing and observing them, it was a feeling of being in a room, and I couldn't speak to anyone. They're not going to hear me if I do. And that was a lonely feeling. And that's what a spirit must feel. If mom or dad are standing in a room next to you and you don't even know they're there, it's got to be a lonely feeling.
I bet. When you were having that near-death experience and you were out of body, what did you feel on a physical level? Did you feel peace? Did you feel numb? Were there like these electrodes running through you? We've heard them all on this show. How about for you?
For me, it was an absolutely normal feel. I didn't hurt. I didn't, other than I'd say, like my stomach was a little queasy, and I could feel the little bouncing around. It wasn't much, but I could feel the helicopter, responding to the speed we were traveling about. It was going, just slightly above treetops. It was pretty low to the ground and moving along at a very, fast rate. But everything I saw, there's no doubt that I never would have seen that had I not, you can't see that while laying in the stretcher and turning your head and looking around. You're not going to see it.
Chuck Bergman is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, Psychic Cop. We have about 5 minutes here before we have to go to a break at the bottom of the hour. Let's try and sneak in one more story here before we go to break regarding you helping with a cold case. Is it usually cold cases you are working on?
Typically, yes.
Okay,
yes.
So how does that work? Do you get a phone call from, the local sheriff's department or maybe a government agency and say, hey, Chuck, we need you to look into this?
I wish it would go that way, but unfortunately, it's usually the family. And I don't like to say negative things, but it's happening across the country, and I'm not happy with it. But a lot of police departments are turning cases into cold cases, and then using the phrase, we don't have the funds, we can't work on your case any further, we need more money. And I don't like it becoming a political statement like that, but I'm hearing it from family after family after family. They don't have the resources. They can't look for my son or daughter anymore. Would I be able to help them? And of course, depending on where it is and all of that, I have to weigh it out, whether it's worth me getting, involved. And once I do get involved, will the police respond or not respond?
Mm-hmm. So, okay, take me through a scenario here. Let's say I have a missing child and I don't know where they are. They were last seen at a Halloween house party, at 10 p.m. because their curfew is at 10:30. How does this work?
typically for me, it's like I have to talk to the family and I'll be in conversation for a few minutes, maybe 5, maybe 10 minutes. And out of nowhere, the information will just start coming out of nowhere. I'll know. It'll just start happening. And I've done some very, very tough cases that, looking back, it's like I was crazy to get involved in the first place. But I did, and it's usually a lot more involved than just a missing person. There's a lot more behind it, usually.
In regards to these cases, okay, the family calls you up. How long has the person been missing on average?
I like it when it's fairly fresh. Like typically, well, one I'd like to talk about is when, I'm in Florida. This happened in Chicago. And the woman's husband had only been missing for 7 days. And again, I had to follow the format like I did with the young man in California, where I thought I got to come out with enough stuff that I know it's her husband, that he has passed away, before I say to the wife, by the way, your husband's talking to me, he's in spirit. You see what I mean? It's like I need enough evidence. And I remember with her, we were just chatting for a moment. She was talking to me about, it's been 7 days. Do I do this kind of a reading and all of that? And I said, does he have a D sound for a name like David, a hard D? She said, well, that's his name, David. I said, okay, David, does he work at a bank? Because I'm inside the bank behind the glass, where all the workers are. And she said, well, he's a bank president. And I said, now I'm already starting to trust the information that I get and know that it's coming from David. And then he showed me an image of him lying in very shallow water on his back, not far from the bank, with a bullet to the top of the head. And I also saw 2 men standing over him. Now, that's a hard thing to say to a wife, He's dead and all of this. So I had to work my way up to it. I got enough other information out, like validations and stuff like that, till finally I was able to tell her what I saw. And I remember she got very defensive and she said, well, we don't know that. We just know that he's missing. I said, okay, I'm just telling you what I got. So we'll let it go at that. So 7 days after the reading, now we're talking 14 days since David has returned home. And what happened was hunters found his body nearby, very shallow water, laying on his back and not alive. So then I get a call, not from the wife, but from her partner. And I find out the 2 of them own one of the biggest law firms in Chicago. So I got to admit, now I've got a little bit of a legal quandary on hand. Like, if I say the wrong thing here, I can get a lawsuit on me. And every medium should think about that before they give out information that they're not sure about. So anyway, the partner kept drilling me, like, how do you know there's a bullet? And he said the medical examiner did not find a bullet. I said, well, there's definitely a bullet to the top of the head. I know what I'm seeing. I said it would be impossible for all this other information to be accurate, and then I get a false story about, how he died. So I'm going to go with the bullet. I know there was a bullet. Next thing I know, they've got me flying up to Chicago to meet with a judge, and I've never heard of them doing this. They wanted the judge to issue another autopsy of David with a different medical examiner, which he signed off on after talking to me for about an hour. And it didn't hurt that I gave him a few things that I was picking up on his own grandfather that he recognized to be true. And he checked out my website and everything. Anyway, he signed off on it and said, boy, you better not let me down. He said, we're all going to look bad here. And when the medical examiner did the second autopsy, different ME, they find the bullet to the top of the head.
No way. Oh,
absolutely.
Let's continue this story when we come back here on Spaced Out Radio, as we are about to head for our bottom of the hour break. Author, psychic medium Chuck Bergman is our guest tonight. We are talking what it's like to be a psychic cop, what it's like to look into cold cases. This is getting really interesting here on Spaced Out Radio, so stay tuned. right, we're clear.
Okay.
Wow. That's a little too real.
Now they can hear us on YouTube?
Yes, they can.
I'll let them know, but not that.
Some videos of No They I found on the web.
All right.
Hi, Siri. Oh, hold on. There goes my Siri. Hi, Siri.
Hello?
Mine was talking to yours.
Yeah, no kidding.
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear you. Could you please repeat what you said?
No. Let's turn you off.
That's what I keep mine on airplane mode. Yeah, that was an amazing event. It really was.
Wow. That's a little eerie. A little.
It was, and then I'll say it to the, but I don't want to put it out over the other radios, but it was, shall we say, mafia connected.
Oh yeah.
And that the mafia even got to the first medical examiner and said, "This is a suicide by drowning and nothing else," and he had no choice.
Right.
The second ME had no idea, and did a normal report, and they said within 2 or 3 minutes found the bullet to the top of the head.
Right. Goodness. All right. Wow. That's just insane. Insane. Nicole says she is loving this show tonight.
Hi, Michelle.
All right. Let's see. Where are we in the chat room here? Got 121 people in our chat room tonight watching.
Oh, great.
Yeah. 122 now. 122. 123. I feel like the count.
See, I get too distracted if I start watching that while I'm trying to tell a story, so...
Hold on. Somebody's busting my balls here, and I missed it totally. Let's see. You're finally able to pop in. You guys are all having an amazing night. Hi, Mere Person. What were you busting me for here? Let me see. Come on, Pharmacy. Where were you busting my chops here? I don't see it. I don't see it. Don't see it. Hi, Princess Denali. Oh, it's one of those. It was way back. Joe is asking if you see future events too.
On occasion, I do, and it's amazing. Sometimes it will be 6 months into the future or even 2 years into the future. But it's always, when I get it, it's accurate, and it happens.
All right, we got about 2 minutes. About 90 seconds. Thank you, Awaken. Really appreciate that in the chat room. Hi, Lee A. Good to have you here while you're at work. Hi, Jenny. Good to have you here. Want to remind everybody the Super Chat is open, and the great way to support what we do is give us a thumbs up on YouTube also, or a thumbs down, whatever you prefer. Also, to hit that subscribe button and the bell so you know when we are coming on next. A great way to support what we do is go to our website, spacedoutradio.com, pick up a shirt or any type of swag from our store, the SOR Vault, as well as join the Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. You can do it. I believe you can do it. And we're going to continue on here momentarily. 5 seconds here, my friend. Hold on. We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us tonight. We appreciate that. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we are talking with the author of Psychic Cop. Psychic medium Chuck Bergman is here. His website, chuckbergman.com. You can find his books on Amazon or his website. Highly suggest that you do this because we're getting into what it's like to have intuition while working cold cases. Now, the case you stated right before, Chuck, I mean, that's just absolutely amazing that you were able to tie so much information into a banker to pretty much warrant a second autopsy.
Which I'd never heard of that being ordered by a court. I guess they'd have to have a really good reason, to order that.
Why is that so rare?
Typically the ME does his job, and I, through the work I did, I was an accident reconstructionist for fatal accidents. So there were times when I had to go to autopsies and take notes and record it or whatever, and they're very thorough with everything. Everything gets measured, weighed, photographed, you name it, then sent to the labs for a testing, and they're just very thorough, So usually once one autopsy is performed, that's the end of it. I just don't hear of that happening. And it did make headlines after I left. They didn't mention me at all, that the first medical examiner was fired and then brought up on charges, for giving the false report.
Unbelievable. Got a couple questions from our chat room here, if you don't mind, before we continue on. Kimberly is asking, Chuck, have you ever worked alongside other psychic investigators on cases, or are you more solitary?
Definitely solitary, because I've had beginners who I can't even describe, where they'll give some accurate information and then they're off the charts. I think they let their imagination run wild, and I had one case in particular where one female police detective was trying to take over what I was doing, and this is in another state, and it turns out she was having a romance with the lead detective, so he was favoring everything she was saying, and it just got to the point where, with all the information I gave out that was accurate, I just had to put my hands up and say, either I'm going to work on the case or she is, because I got to admit, there were crazy stuff that she was coming out with, and I just didn't want to be part of it, and I didn't want to be liable either in the end. So I basically got on a plane and came home, and that was the end of that. So now I do solo because of that. If I had a silent partner, like wanting to be a medium or a trainee, if you will, and learn that way and let me know what they're getting, but not make it public, I'd like to. I would be happy to hear someone else's perspective on it. But for the most part, I'm going to get what I need anyway.
Okay. So I want to follow up on this for just a couple of seconds here because, I mean, there are cold cases that you have obviously dealt with other psychic mediums. Like you said, at points it didn't work and you prefer to work alone. How do you get your information? So let's say I had a family member disappear. Like a lot of psychics don't like a lot of information because they want to figure it out for themselves. A lot of them do refuse information because once they get their own intel, then they go research it to see how accurate they are. How do you work it? What's your process?
I love having family members present. If you see the one on my website I did for A&E called Psychic Search, and this is a young man, Mr. Rollison, had been missing, I want to say, for 6 months. And they really didn't know, dead or alive, on him either. And with that family, I knew nothing at all. So I had to go meet with the family and with 2 police detectives who had been working on that case for 6 years. I had to meet with everyone at the same time. And we had the A&E camera staff there, to videotape it, to record everything. So it was certainly a pressure for me, but I handled it very well, and my format was exactly the same. I said, okay, you don't know if he's on this side or not. I said, I'm going to try and give some information, and if I'm getting it from your son, then we know that he's on the other side. I said, so I have to give you things that I would have no way of knowing. And it was so amazing, even on camera. And by the way, they cut this piece out. So anyone that's listening to your program who happens to be a medium or they're learning how to do this stuff, you would be pretty ticked off if it happened to you the way it happened to me on this little segment. And what happened was I pointed to the daughter who was, in the room. And I said, listen, Debbie, I don't know anything about you, but I see young children standing around you holding hands. And I want to say they look like 3rd graders. Does that make any sense? Do you teach school? She said, yes, Chuck, I'm a teacher and I teach 3rd grade. I said, okay, your brother who's missing is actually on the other side. And he's telling me right now, I said, I know you don't see him, you don't hear him, but I do. He's telling me he was with you yesterday in your classroom while you were talking to all these children. And I'm kind of surprised because for 3rd graders, you used a term that I think was way over their head. And I'm kind of surprised you would use the term in front of 3rd graders. And of course, now everyone's wondering, like, where are we going with this? What is this? And I looked at her and I said, the term you used, and you're trying to teach 3rd graders, is halitosis. And she goes, oh, yeah. She said one of the students went across the hall to get an eraser or whatever it was for Mr. Smith. And when the student came back, said, oh, wow, Mr. Smith has the worst breath I've ever smelled in my life. And the teacher, Debbie, says, now, children, we call that halitosis. And she puts her hands on her hips and goes, you weren't in my classroom. How do you know about that? I said, well, your brother was. He heard it. He's reporting it to me. And this is how we prove that he's on the other side. And then you do get to see other things in the show that are pretty remarkable. But they cut out a lot of the good stuff because in their wisdom at A&E, they said, no one will believe that. So we have to chop it out. We have to make the show believable. And I thought, how believable do you want to be here? I mean, I was at home yesterday. I was in Debbie's classroom to hear this happen. And I lived in fact, the town we were in Florida, I'd never been there in my life until that particular morning. So that's how I work. And then I started getting images, and sometimes people are talking and I'll kind of break out laughing and say, I'll bet you didn't know this. And I'll give them a little more, but there's no rhyme or reason to the way they communicate it to me. But halitosis, you got to admit, that's a good one.
All right. Working on television with A&E and other channels and shows that you've worked with, and I was trying to save this for later, but we can go down that road since you brought up that story. How frustrating is it as someone in your position to have that happen? Like if I was in your position, that wouldn't want or make me want to continue working along those sides if you're taking my best information, my most accurate information, and cutting it out.
I know guys like James Van Prague, and there's a reason why a lot of the higher end mediums, or well-known mediums, I'll put it that way, who are very good at what they do, but they don't see a lot of purpose in helping law enforcement with crimes. I've never heard of John Edwards going out and solving a missing person or murder case. I just haven't. And I think that's why you've got to have a certain stomach for it, and realize even with the production companies that if I don't have it in my contract that I have say so over the editing, then they're going to cut and chop and do whatever they want to do.
All right, question coming from Overbuilt, who is asking, where is it here? Oh, there it is. What do you think is happening to all of these people who are disappearing in national parks? The stories that David Paulides documents in his Missing 411 books.
I really don't know. I've heard some of those stories, and it's almost like there's cover-ups going on. I mean, I'm sure you can attribute some of it to wild animals, or just people falling victim of the environment, stuff around them or whatever. But I don't know what to say about that. But I would feel I wouldn't want to walk through that area, because I know I would probably sense what happened. And I've had that where I've had to go to different like hotel rooms. And as I walk through, I know exactly which room the murder happened in. I'll know how it happened. So I think for me, walking through a park like that or going around there would be pretty devastating. But I've wondered the same thing. How can so many people disappear like that? And it's almost like no one cares. Or I think it's being covered up, actually.
That's exactly what he is going through as well, the frustrating part of everything. All right, let's get to Nicole's question here for you. She is asking, Chuck, how would you suggest developing psychic abilities further than what is naturally given?
It's almost like being... Like, my favorite way to say it is, I'm sure Elton John was born with the gift of singing and playing the piano, but you can bet he worked his tail off getting to the level that he is today. And that's really what it's all about. I used to go to meditation classes. Of course, in Salem, Massachusetts, it was easy to find an open class, but I would go 3 and 4 times a week. I would go to mediumship classes. I would go to the one mediumship class. They would teach us different ways of doing this, and then every week they would have strangers come in, sit in the audience, and we would have to go up on stage and read them, give them a reading, and practice that way. And I guess, like they say, practice makes perfect. And it's all about in your brain opening up the pathways to that portion of your brain where once you start doing it and you find out where those pathways are, you have to develop it. You have to enlarge it. It's like doing push-ups every day. The more you do, the stronger you get.
Do you regret doing this?
Absolutely not. In fact, if I'm not normal, then I wouldn't want to be a normal person, because I think with all the stuff I've learned and know and have experienced, I just can't imagine how my life would be if I didn't have all these stuff that I've experienced and done, and all the proof that I've had that things are really that much better on the other side.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. All right, let's get to another case here that you've worked on. What's one that really tugged at your heartstrings?
Wow, I'll tell you the one that really, 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 one of the hardest ones I did, and I can give it in a shorter version, but I think the lady was in the Pennsylvania area, and, I almost tear up even saying the words that she booked a reading with me because her, I think, 6-year-old son passed away from cancer. And, it's pretty hard to talk to a mom. And, a lot of people, like if you have a neighbor or a family member and they have that kind of a tragedy, that kind of a loss, they're not going to be able to talk to you like I would. People are afraid of saying the wrong words or upsetting you or whatever. And yet it seems like when I get a person on the phone, I can get right to the heart, right to the soul, right to the, talking with them and making everything a lot better for them. And in this case, I had to prove that it was her son coming through, and she was very happy with that part of the reading. But the most amazing part of the story is when we get to the end of her reading, I said, you know, really been a fun hour or so that we've had with your son, but his energy's starting to wind down a little, and we got to end somewhere, and he just wants to say goodbye. I said, but he is reminding me to tell you that he loved it when the last day of his life, when you walk into the room and he was laying in the bed, apparently had already passed, and you took your hand, palm up, and slid it under his little hand, took your left hand and covered it on the top. He said, Mom, you made a hand sandwich. And I thought, wow, that's definitely the humor of a 6-year-old. That's pretty amazing. And the mom was crying, and she said, Chuck, I didn't want to tell you this, but here in Pennsylvania, we can keep the body in the home for up to 3 days. He died 2 days ago. They're going to remove the body tomorrow. So during the reading, I've been sitting next to his body while he's laying in the bed next to me. And when you said it was time to go, I reached my right hand under his little hand and covered it with my left hand, just as I'm saying to her, Mom, it's a hand sandwich. So that one's giving me chills right now. That was, you talk about emotions, stuff like that will do it.
I have to ask, why was the body of her child in her house for 3 days?
I think up there what they do is they have viewings where people will actually come to the house and kind of like an open casket, I guess. If they want to view the body, they're able to. And I think he was home on a hospice situation. Maybe that would make more sense to you. So if he was, slowly dying and they knew it was just a matter of time, but they said once he does pass away, within 3 days, they have to remove the body. And I think it's state law, she said, within 3 days, the body has to be removed.
Oh, very weird.
That is, I know, but if it were my little son or daughter, I don't know. Of course, you're not going to feel that way if it's your own child. You're going to feel like, stay here as long as you want.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's just gut-wrenching there. Absolutely.
It truly is, yeah. But, people don't realize that even when they're making fun of what I do or laughing at what I do, in my head, I'm saying, you have no clue what this world is like. You have no clue.
Wow. I don't even know how to take that. Don't even know.
Why don't we go into you want to hear a happy lottery story?
Yeah, let's do that. We got
let's
about
do that.
6
We'll
six
give it
minutes.
A little more upbeat.
We got about 6 minutes.
Okay, I can do it within 5 probably. This is one where I did a small group of reading of people. It was like 11 people, friends of mine in the neighborhood where I live. And I remember I was invited to the house for a margarita party, with the guys across the street. So I go over, I'm having a few margaritas. I'm just about ready to leave to walk across the street to go home when I notice as I'm passing through their living room, there's like all these women in the living room all lined up like a jewelry party or something going on, but they weren't there for that. They were there for a reading from Chuck. And I'm thinking like, geez, I just had 3 or 4 margaritas, homemade. I don't know if I can give anyone a reading. So to me, it was a little bit of a test. Like, let me just see if I can do this. And if I can't, I can't. But, it was kind of again, another test just to see if I could do it. So anyway, I give person number 1 a real good reading, number 2, number 3. And then I go to number 4, which is Sally. Sally's sitting there, and she's a civilian clerk that worked for the police department, typing in parking tickets or whatever she did. And I didn't know that much about Sally other than every time I would see her, she would make me laugh. She was a very happy person. So as I said, okay, let me see who I can get for you. And I said, hey, your mother, did she pass recently? She said, oh, yeah, very recent. I said, okay, what is this? She's got a lottery machine. It's spitting out all this cash. And she's pointing to you, Sally, saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. And she went, oh, my God, I can't believe it. And the story goes that just before Mom died, Sally went to visit Mom at the nursing home, and her room number, 4 or 5 numbers, whatever it was was getting Sally's attention, like the numbers were glowing. And she felt like, play me, play my room number. And she told her mother, hey, Mom, on the way home, I got to play your room number. I just saw them and they were glowing. They were in color, you know. I think I'm going to win some money. So she plays the number and only won $10,000. Not bad for a buck. So she collects the money. Mom passes away. Sally calls sisters and brothers and says, I think God gave me the money so Mom can go out in a Cadillac. Those were Sally's words. And I'm paying for everything with the money I won from the lottery. And she did. And I'm sure everything was beautiful. So anyway, I give her the reading, and that was pretty amazing that her mom from the other side is thanking her for the lottery money that she spent on her mom. And I thought, that alone, what a powerful message. I gave her some other stuff about her and her sisters and all this stuff. Everything was accurate. I move on to the next woman to give her a reading, and I froze. I turned my head to Sally, and I said, Sally, the room number, your mother just said, get your money back. It's coming in on Saturday. And she said, do they know that? Is that possible? I said, I don't know, but I'm just telling you. She said, get your money back. And it's coming in Saturday. So I would say it was about 1 or 2 weeks later, I was actually making an arrest when another officer, when out of nowhere, someone comes and pulls on my jacket and everything and says, Chuck, the number came in on Saturday. And I turned around and it was Sally. I said, Sally, great. How much did you win? I forgot to play.
Oh, no.
So I said, well, we're going to put this guy in the back of the car for a stolen car and credit cards and all that. And I hope he slides over because you're going to jail with him. I said, why didn't you buy a ticket? That wasn't that hard. Why didn't you buy it? And she forgot. So, but yeah, the number did come in. And you got to wonder, how does that? And there are other people with similar lottery stories where they'll have a dream and that number will come in.
I have one totally opposite. Totally opposite. We were playing with a Ouija board one night, 4 of us. And the spirit on the other side of the board, this was about 7 weeks before the draw, 10 weeks before the draw, said, on this date, you need to play the lottery, buy it from the gas station by your house that you always go to, and the lottery is going to be worth $43 million. Congratulations. Wow. So I said, okay, so normally I have this habit. If I do buy a lottery ticket, which is rare, I never look at it. I said, should I look at the numbers or no? And said no. So lo and behold, a few days before the draw, I look and it's $43 million. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Right? I'm like, is this true? Like, is this real? And go to work, forget about the ticket. And then we go back to our friend's house that night, and we're playing on this spirit board. And the first thing the spirit board draws out is the word congratulations.
Wow.
And I totally forgot. I said, why? And then it spelled out lottery ticket. Okay. And oh, crap, I forgot this in my wallet, and my wallet's in the vehicle. I run outside, grab my wallet, grab the ticket, and I quickly hop online, and I don't have a single number.
Oh.
I have never been more pissed off in my life than that moment right there. You know, because everything lined up, the 43 million, the night where I was supposed to buy the ticket and how much I was supposed to spend, everything. And then the board says, congratulations, and look at the ticket and not a single number. I was totally messed with by the spirit world. Totally played.
I can't even answer that one. Why would they do that to you?
I don't know. You tell me. You're the psychic.
Well, I'm waiting for me to win it. You know, why didn't I get the number from Sally so I could have played it, you know?
I hear you. I hear
should
you.
have.
Chuck, we got you for another 30 minutes on Spaced Out Radio tonight. I'm going to get you to hang on in there as we are going to go to break at the top of the hour here. Author, psychic medium, Chuck Bergman is here. His website, chuckbergman.com. And I suggest you check out his books that can be found on Amazon, including Psychic Cop. That's a personal story And I love personal stories because they have a little bit more meaning than just writing a book of other people's experiences. More on Spaced Out Radio in Hour 3 with Chuck Bergman coming up right after this. All right, we're clear?
All right.
I'm just going to put the commercials on. I'm going to run my dogs outside one final time here. I'll be right back, okay?
All right, sounds good.
Response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month, and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get bumblefucked?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the story you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Traveler.
All right. Bear with me here.
I didn't know you were using a Ouija board. Some people are afraid of that.
Oh, why? Why not?
It's the way I feel. I think it's just like another tool, but they say it opens. You know, one term that really bothers me is they claim there's a portal Like, what the hell is a portal? A spirit can come and go anywhere they want to. Anywhere they want. They don't need a portal, whatever that is.
Oh,
nothing is off limits to a spirit.
Well, let me go here. We've got about just over a minute here.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Sensibil, how you doing, man? Thanks for coming on in. All right, just getting caught up in the chat room here. Got about 30 seconds. And about 10 seconds. Thank you for everybody's support on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thanks for hitting the thumbs up or down. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Favonian. Favonian is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, before we bring back our guest, Chuck Bergman, I have an announcement to make, because this is kind of cool. If you're on Twitter and following us on Twitter, I need you to do me a favor. Even on Facebook. Go on Facebook while you're listening here. All right? The man who does our music, Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, is celebrating a birthday today. And we could not sound on this show as good as we do without using his music, especially our theme song, Little Brother is Watching. And Ron is a very, very classy individual. He is a huge mentor of mine. I'm a huge fan of his. He is a man of his word, a man who goes out of his way to help people, and he's helped our show a lot in sounding of higher quality, in bringing fantastic music that you guys get to hear on a nightly basis. I mean, before I even met him, he wrote Little Brother is Watching, and I never knew that this show would line up with the lyrics of that song so well. So if you could do me the favor, Spaced Out Radio listeners, whether you're on Twitter or on Facebook, please go wish Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal a happy birthday on his Bumblefoot page on Facebook, on Instagram at Bumblefoot, or on Twitter at Bumblefoot as well. We'd really appreciate that, because we absolutely love the man around here, and your help would make it a little bit better. And give him some birthday wishes. He deserves it for everything he's done for us here on this show. So happy birthday, Bumblefoot. You are the greatest, and thank you so much for allowing us to be a small part of what you do on a nightly basis. Chuck Bergman is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're talking psychic cops. We have Chuck until the bottom of the hour. We're talking cold cases that Chuck has been working on. You can go pick up his book on Amazon or bookstores called Psychic Cop. His website, chuckbergman.com. You can find his books there as well. Chuck, thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a great night. I've really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have too, my friend. I love these cold cases. Do you have any cases that you could share with us that you literally stunned a police force that caused them to re-examine everything that they found or did not find in a case?
I would say every time. In fact, I know the one that's on my website, which I did with A&E, there was one detective that was good friends with the missing person, and we had words before the cameras even started rolling. And what happened was the one detective came up to me just before everything started, and he said he didn't appreciate me exploiting his best friend, and calling the camera crew in and all this stuff. And he said, and I was doing it for money, and he went on and on and on. And I listened to him. But being a retired cop, I'm not really afraid of someone, in uniform, like an average person might say, I got to be careful what I say to this guy or he's going to handcuff me, So when he was finished, I said, let's get a few things straight. I said, I'm only here because your friend Terry cannot speak for himself. He's on the other side. He was murdered by his best friend, and his best friend should pay the price. I said, so that's why I'm getting involved. I said, then you want to talk about money? I said, I'm not getting paid a penny from A&E or anyone else. I'm doing this on my time, my gasoline, everything else. I'm not getting paid. I said, you, on the other hand, show me the overtime you've put in and money you've been paid to work on your friend's case as a detective. I said, you're getting paid, aren't you? And then the cameras are rolling and you want to be here and be on camera. Looks like you're taking advantage of things too. So then he said, well, I'm not going to be on camera. I don't want anything to do with this. But then when he witnessed the halitosis statement and a few other things, he apologized and said, I want to be on camera now. And he was, and he turned out to be very good. But yeah, I get that from a lot of police departments where they start off real negative, or we don't trust this guy, or whatever you want to call it. But in the end, when I find the body or solve the case, they're all my buddies. It's good.
I got to ask you, in regards to a lot of the cases you deal with, most of the time I'm going to assume the person you were trying to find is dead, passed away, and maybe under very troubling circumstances. How many cases have you worked on where the person was still alive? And what happened?
I'd have to say none.
Really?
They're always deceased. Yes. And we don't always know that going into it, though. It's usually we don't know, and then I have to be very careful and get enough information. Then I can draw the conclusion, well, they must be on the other side, or I wouldn't be getting all this accurate information. So if I'm not getting anything at all, that's good news. That means they're probably still alive.
I thought you would have.
No, I mean, I do get different things, but not, I just don't, I don't know. I just don't work on if they're still alive. Sometimes I can give an area where they were last seen, or people will validate it and say, well, yeah, his credit card was active in that area or whatever, but it's almost like I don't get a good connection. It's got to be the spirit coming to me because they want justice. They want the family to heal. And that's why they want to do the reading. That's why they want to give the information.
I guess that makes sense. Makes total sense.
I'm not sure how they find me in my office, and I don't know how all this stuff works. I don't get it, but they keep their appointment, they show up, they do it, and I've never had a failure with it.
Okay, given the fact that this is something that you have based your career on now, or part of your retired career, you know, how many cases a year are you working?
At the moment, you know, especially this year, none, because of the COVID. I don't want to travel. I don't want to be exposed to, you know, all this stuff. But before it would be normal to do 3 or 4 a year.
That's got to be a sense of accomplishment. Have you had cases where you looked at them and you're just like, I'm not getting anything. There is nothing here that is coming to me.
Never had that happen. Never. In fact, you know, I remember once where I went to visit my sister, and her daughter was there, you know, my niece, and she was just starting to date a cop from another community. And I guess the niece had told him something about, you know, the work that I do. And it was amazing because she introduced me to him. He said his name. We shake hands. And then he said, you know, I wonder if I could use you. He says, we've got one unsolved murder or a missing person in our community, and I think she's murdered, but I'd like someone like you to kind of help out with the case. And I, not knowing anything at all, just from shaking his hand, I said, she's not a missing person. She was murdered. Her husband did it, and he's murdered before. Just like that. No thing, you know, no taking a breath, though, nothing. And later on, when I worked on the case, everything panned out exactly that way, where there was a person he murdered, or he was suspected of murdering when he was 18 years old. And the amazing part of that story is we were traveling on a long dirt road. We were in an SUV with a couple of detectives. My sister was with me. And we've probably got about 3 or 4 more miles to go to get to the area where we figured her body was disposed of. And on the way, I had them stop, back up, and there was a little area there with a house trailer. I said, pull in there. I want to go into this piece of property for some reason. And I got out of the vehicle and I'm looking around and I said, I got to tell you, someone was murdered here. And the detective said, well, remember the husband of the woman that's missing? I told you that he was suspected of murdering someone when he was 18 years old. I said, yeah, I remember hearing that. And he goes, this is the house where the woman lived that hired him to work, and she came up dead one day. And I'll be darned if she didn't come through and she told me where her body was found, how he murdered her. The whole thing came out. But the amazing part to me was we were driving down a dirt road just talking to each other, and everyone kind of said, what the hell's wrong with Chuck? When I said, stop, back up. And then, you know, pull into this location. And then it all played out. But it was kind of like a 2-for-1 case, you know, where they did get the proof they were looking for, that he did the murder, because I knew too much about it. And then, you know, when we went to the other place, I came up with how the husband did murder her, and even described her grandchildren and why she wouldn't have died, you know, why she wouldn't have committed suicide. And it was just amazing, the information that came out.
It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. You know, when you are on a case like this and figuring out what happened, in a case like that where the husband murdered the wife, what's the reaction of the husband when all of a sudden you start calling him out? Like, you might be not calling him out to his face, I don't know, but I'm just curious, what's the reaction when you start going down this information? Have you ever had anybody come out and just say, yes, you're right, I did it?
No, usually the police will put together enough information along with my information supporting it, or it'll point them in the right direction, like where to find the information. It's almost like I become irrelevant to the case, to the person, because they feel like they got me, you know, but they don't really understand that behind the scenes, they probably would have gotten away with it if I didn't jump in and help. And sometimes it's a matter of just showing the police, this is what I'm getting, and it's a cold case, you're not working on it, but if you dig up this piece of information, that piece of information, then you're going to have the evidence you need. And it's amazing. It's amazing the way they're able to continue the case and then really put the case together and try not to use me, but they'll say something like, an informant gave us this information or whatever I gave them. So they'll kind of do it under that mask.
All right, and that actually leads to my next question as to whether or not your information is valid in a court of law.
Yeah, it would be, because I would explain that I verbally gave it or wrote it or whatever I did. This is the information I gave to the detectives, and a follow-up proved this to be true. So you're allowed to talk about what you did do. And if I say, I used intuition, and in my case, I'm at least fortunate that I could use my background and my books and stuff like that, and my training and I guess you could call it training in this field, that I use that training to get information to, get valid evidence against the perpetrator. So it would be valid. Yeah, of course, the defense attorney would try and knock it out of the park, but good luck.
Human Carl is asking if you have ever got stumped on a case that you couldn't solve.
In a way, I did on one, but then when I realized what had happened, and this is worth hearing, where it gets pretty involved. It was a missing 2-year-old. The mother had, and this was a very big case in the Jacksonville area, missing 2-year-old, and the mother's boyfriend was the number one suspect. And he was the last one seen with the little boy, and claimed that his car was stolen while his son was in the car seat. When he ran upstairs to get a battery for his cell phone, he came down and the car was missing with the little boy in it. And the little boy's gone, no body, no kid, but they did recover the car 1 block away. So the whole story didn't make sense. They ended up arresting the boyfriend over non-related drug charges. So they had him in jail. And what happened is, a few days later, or maybe a week later, I had people doing a search party in a wooded area to look for the body. And the leader of the group happened to call me and say, ask me if I would join in. So while we're doing the searching out in a wooded area, and it was super hot that day and buggy, you name it, I didn't really want to be out there. We were looking for the body, and then I heard the words come into my brain saying, "Go home. You're not supposed to find the little boy. You're not supposed to find him." So this was kind of a letdown to me. Like, why aren't they helping me? Why aren't they telling me where to look or point me in the right direction like I normally get? Or tell me, is it water? Is it, what do I look for? There was no help from the spirit world at all. They just said, pack up, go home, and take everyone, tell them the search party's ending. So I told the leader, I said, this is what I'm getting, and we're not going to find him today. Let's just regroup another day. And they agreed to do that. So then what happened was the mother's boyfriend, who's now in jail, made a deal with the police that if they could lower the charges or the jail time or whatever, that he would take them to the body. And that's exactly what he did. In fact, that was on a newscast where they showed him put in a van, and he took him to an area, and they recovered the little boy's body. Now, you got to say, if I found the body, that never would have happened. We would have had the body. We would have had a death and a murder because of the way it was found. But you really don't have evidence of who did it. So even upstairs, and I find that case, to me, it was fascinating that they knew what was at stake upstairs, and I didn't. And I was disappointed. Like, why aren't they taking me to the body like I normally get? And yet, look at the way it played out in the end.
Unbelievable. Are there cases you will not take on?
I don't think so. I'm pretty well able to do anything without, I would certainly look at it as a challenge and probably take on any case.
I mean, being a former cop, you're used to everything. From me on a personal level, if I had the ability to do what you do, it would be extremely difficult for me to work on children's cases, missing children or children who have been the victims of horrific crime. That would drive me insane.
Me too.
So how do you work on that when it comes to children?
you just have to know you're doing it for the good of the child, for the family. And if they've been murdered and they're on the other side, then it can even be healing for them as a spirit, because they're no longer carrying around with them that feeling of they were wronged and, you know, all that stuff. They'll feel a little justified in what happened later because they see and they know everything that's happening. I've done some pretty high-end cases, I'll put it that way, where, you know, the end result is, yeah, it's painful and I kind of don't like being part of all that, but you got to have a strong stomach and you have to do it. You can't bow down to the pain, you know, and I love children. I've got 3 myself, and I kind of laugh. At my age, I've got a 15-year-old son, so, you know, love kids, love them.
Yeah, I mean, the difficulty in that has to be horrific at times, because does spirit block things for you? Like, for instance, will they show you how the crime was committed?
Oh, yeah, quite a bit, yes. I'll tell you a fascinating one, which would be on that line. I was down, I think, around the Tampa area, and a woman, her fiance met for a New Year's Eve party, and it was right on the ocean in a little hotel room. And as it turned out, he had to leave and go back to his residence or whatever for some reason, and then come back again. And meanwhile, they come back and they found her hanging, so they thought that it was suicide. And the mother didn't believe that for a minute, so she had me come in and just do a run through the house. And what are the odds of doing this? Where first I go in the living room, I go down the hallway, I go into the bedroom, and I'm going, I'm not feeling it. I said, but hold on, where's the bathroom? And they said, oh, it's over here. I went into the bathroom, opened the door to the shower stall, and in my mind's eye, I could see her hanging from the shower head fixture coming out of the wall. There was what looked like a dog leash coming down, and it was wrapped around her neck. And I said, the boyfriend or the fiance hung her, put her here, made it look like a suicide, but he's the one that did this to her. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly where they found the body. So, you know, when I went in, I didn't know if it's going to be in the bedroom, the living room, the kitchen. So for me to open the shower stall of all places, you think, what are you, crazy? Why are you looking in there? But sure enough, that was a scene of where she was murdered.
Insane. Absolutely insane. That is just crazy. My friend, we've only got about 90 seconds with you tonight, and I gotta say, this has been a very impactful show. What's up next for you?
You know, I have no idea. It's like I wait and see what comes across the desk, and I would like to end it by saying I just can't believe all the beautiful, wonderful people I've met doing what I do. I have people emailing me all the time, say, hey, Chuck, I just want to see how you're doing and fill you in on what happened with my case that you worked on, or the reading that you gave my family, or it's just nonstop, and I love it.
That's just great. That's just great. I appreciate you taking the time here, my friend. Let everybody know where they can find your books.
Yeah, the best way is on Amazon right now. And if you want to link to it, you can click on my page, chuckbergman.com. And if you can't remember that, just put in the Psychic Cop, and that'll link over to my website. And I highly recommend you play back some of the videos, especially the one with the kid with the smiling face, because that's about 8 minutes of some of my favorite things that happen during phone readings. It's only 8 minutes long, but when you hear some of the things that I'm telling these people, and then they explain why I'm seeing what I'm seeing, it's entertaining just listening to those little audio clips.
Well, the fact that you took the time tonight to hang out with us and to share some of your stories from your book, Psychic Cop, and other stories as well, I want to say a big thank you for the first time that we've had you on. I would love to do this again.
Oh, I'd love to. I really enjoyed it, Dave. You're a great guy. I can just feel that, and really in tune with your that are listeners, and I might become a listener myself.
Well, I hope so. We always love having our guests as listeners as well. Thank you so much, Chuck. I'm going to get you to hold on for 2 seconds here as we are about to head to commercial at the bottom of the hour here. Chuck Bergman, his website, once again, chuckbergman.com, his book, Psychic Cop. Nice and easy title for you to find online or on his website. Once again, chuckbergman.com. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire. We have the Thought of the Dave. Lots more. Spaced Out Radio for your enjoyment. Stay tuned. And we're clear. Good job, Chuck. Good job.
Loved it. That was easy.
We'll give you a few claps here tonight.
Thank you.
We always like to clap for our guests.
Loved it.
Oh, yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that. I really do appreciate that.
My pleasure. I hope I do come back someday.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We will. Corin's the booking guy is in the chat room, and he knows that when I love a guest like I've really enjoyed tonight, I want them back. So it'll probably be next year, but we'll definitely get you back on for sure.
That'll be great.
All right, my friend. Any new books coming up? Are you writing anything?
No, I'm kind of taking it easy right now. I'm still recovering, so, just trying to get back to normal.
I hear you all. I hear you there. All right, my friend. You take care, and thank you so much for being with us.
Enjoyed it. Thank you very much, Dave. And thank your audience, too. They were great.
Oh, they're hearing that. They are hearing that, so I appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
Have a good night, my friend.
Good night.
Good night. Fantastic guest. Another home run there, Corin's the booking guy. Another home run. That's why we got Corin's the booking guy here. Oh, just keeps nailing it out of the park. How many of you have gone on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram to wish Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal a happy birthday? How many of you? I know on Twitter, I can see who's done it on Twitter that followed up my tweet. Hey, it's Overbuilt's birthday too. Happy birthday, Overbuilt. Happy birthday. Hi, Bombshell Bomber. Quite possibly. Nikki, you're pretty accurate, so I would agree with you there. That's kind of what I was thinking. You're so smart. Hey, TSW Parababes, how are you? Parababes are here, everyone. The Parababes are here. Hey, Joe, do you like how long the hair is getting? It's only been like 2 months since I got my hair cut, man. Just over 2 months. It's growing fast, man. We love you too, TSW Parababes. Just making sure everything is set up here. Do 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 do. How about the beard, Joe? How about the beard? We have 1 minute. Uno momento. Seconds. Hold on, here we go. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio, on Instagram @Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Speaking of the news. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the deadly. The International Space Station was forced to make an emergency maneuver to avoid a catastrophic collision with a rogue piece of space debris. NASA said the crew took shelter while controllers worked urgently to adjust the course of the floating lab, which orbits roughly 260 miles above Earth. An American and a pair of Russians relocated to their Soyuz spacecraft as the change in course began so they could evacuate if necessary. NASA added, the mystery object hurtled past the space station at a distance of less than a mile. Yeah, it happened this past Wednesday night. The incident highlights the danger posed by a rising amount of space trash in our orbit right now. The space station has maneuvered 3 times in 2020 to avoid debris, NASA's boss Jim Bridenstine has said, following this last near miss. In the last 2 weeks, there have been 3 high concern potential conjunctions. Debris is getting worse. NASA said it spotted the debris late and had to fire the engines of a Russian cargo spaceship attached to the International Space Station to avert it. Having safely dodged the object, Chris Cassidy, Anatoly Ivanishin, and Ivan Wagner, the current crew, have now resumed their regular duties. Despite the need for the urgent maneuver, NASA claimed the crew was never in any danger. Sticking with the space station, Tom Cruise and Edge of Tomorrow director Doug Liman will reportedly blast off to the International Space Station next year as a part of a joint team effort between NASA, Elon Musk's SpaceX, and Universal Studios to create the first ever movie filmed outside the Earth's atmosphere. Images of an ISS scheduled tweeted by the Space Shuttle Almanac account show that Cruise, Lyman, and SpaceX pilot Lopez Algeria are on the docket for the tourist flight that's scheduled for October of 2021. There's also a spot listed for a 3rd passenger. Whether the goal is to scout locations or begin production is unclear. There also aren't many more of other known details regarding this interstellar cinematic spectacle itself, other than Universal is providing a $200 million budget. Musk and NASA Administrator James Bridenstine both expressed enthusiasm for the first-of-its-kind project at the historic SpaceX launch in May. We would love for Tom Cruise to fly to the ISS and make a movie, Bridenstine said. I'm all for that. We are going to do what we can to make that happen. There was a day when I was in elementary school and I saw Top Gun. From that day, I knew I was going to be a Navy pilot. It's just the way it was. The goal here, it's similar, and it is what we are doing today with the rocket launch. Get the kids fired up about it. Get them to want that spacesuit and want to go into orbit and go to the moon and go to Mars, Musk added when asked about the movie's goal. We're reigniting the dream of space. Anyone who has within them the spirit of exploration should love what's going on today. Bridenstine concluded, if we can get Tom Cruise to inspire any elementary children to join the Navy and be a pilot, we can get Tom Cruise to inspire the next Elon Musk. That's what we need. We need a new generation of many Elon Musks. That's what we are doing with our launch and the film. It's all about the next generation. It's kind of a gross story here. Police in Vietnam have confiscated an estimated 345,000 used condoms, which had been cleaned and resold as new. Ugh. Ugh. Oh, that one's tough. Footage broadcast by state-owned Vietnam television, otherwise known as the ever-popular VTV, this week showed dozens of large bags containing the used contraceptives scattered across the floor of a warehouse in the southern province of Binh Duong. Police say the bags weighed more than 360 kilograms or 794 pounds, equivalent to 345,000 condoms. The owner of the warehouse said they had received a monthly input of used condoms from an unknown person. A woman detained during the bust told police that the used prophylactics were first boiled in water, then dried and reshaped on a wooden phallus before being repackaged and resold. VTV said it was not clear how many of the recycled condoms had already been sold. The detained woman said she had received about 17 cents for every kilogram of recycled condoms she produced. Neither she nor the owner of the warehouse were available for comment. How disgusting is that? Ugh! Who does that job? Who wants that job? What do you do for a living? Oh, well, I cleanse prophylactics. Ugh. Ugh. You know when your teeth get feeling weird when something gross comes along? That's what I got right now. Terrifying footage shows an enormous huntsman spider charging towards a man as he sits on the toilet in Australia. Another reason not to go down under. The spiders are attacking you in your private time. Western Australian man Riley Watts filmed the moment when he jumps in fear as the spider runs towards him. Posted the footage on TikTok and Instagram with the caption, going to the toilet in Australia. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and the spiders are making me want to burn this house down, he wrote. Look at the size. You got to go online and see the size of this thing. And it starts chasing him. All right. He's doing his biz. Like, what worse timing? The video shows the spider on the wall opposite of Mr. Watts before jumping onto the floor towards him and running up another wall. Yes, his curses were very profound. He says, I'm trying to bleep, man. Jesus. Yeah. I mean, the spider just has no couth. You know, the man is in his privacy, probably playing a good video game on his phone. Okay? Trying to have a little man time, privacy here. And a spider, about the size of 3/4, lengthwise, 4/4 maybe, decides to run at him. The video has quickly gained thousands of views and the hundreds of comments from people equally in disgust. It's at that point when wiping becomes irrelevant, says one user. OMG, no, it makes noise when it walks, another commented. Mr. Watts posted the video just days after sharing the horrific footage of another enormous spider eating a whole gecko. The giant huntsman can be casually chomping on the reptile while sitting on the outside wall of Mr. Watts' house. TikTok users commented on the spider's size and confidence and told the man, "Burn the house down." Could have gone my entire life without seeing this one. One comment. I saw a spider eat a bird when I lived on the Gold Coast, said another. I mean, it's pretty simple. If your house is infected with huntsman spiders, you have no choice. When they are attacking you, when you are trying to have a little private time, enjoy, just sitting there enjoying a good bowel movement, maybe into some Pokemon or YouTube videos or checking out Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, TikTok, whatever it may be, and this spider is coming to attack you and kill you, you have no choice but to burn your house down. There is no choice. Now, here's a story I don't like. New York's Times Square will bid farewell to 2020 without the usual huddled masses jamming the streets on New Year's Eve, officials have announced, amid fears that crowds could spread coronavirus. The New Year's Eve celebration in Times Square is among the biggest in the world, typically drawing about 1 million people to the streets of Midtown Manhattan, with more than 1 billion more tuning in on television. But this year, Times Square will be cordoned off by the New York Police Department on December 31st, with organizers instead planning a scaled-back virtual event and an app where revelers can view the countdown remotely. Oh, that'll be fun. Times Square Alliance, which runs the event, said only a very limited group of socially distanced people will be allowed into the square for broadcast purposes. There will be some social distance activities in Times Square, but it's going to be primarily for a broadcast and streaming audience, Tim Tompkins, president of TSA, said. There will be a finite amount of people allowed in Times Square to sort of make that happen for the broadcast, but there's nothing going to be with the crowds. That is sad. Yeah, in a preliminary teaser of what's to come, the Alliance said that watching the famous ball come down to usher in 2021 will be a digital affair. What live events will take place this year? Yet to be announced. Many of the details and the live entertainment that make a good portion of the hours-long celebration leading to the end of the year countdown are still being determined. It's sad. It's sad. I think a bunch of us have relied on that, over the years. Okay, if you're going to die, you don't want to have a bad death. You want to be doing something that you enjoy, all right? You really do. A construction worker in Massachusetts passed away after eating too much licorice, which caused his heart to stop, doctors have said. The 54-year-old died after eating a bag and a half of licorice every day for several weeks, throwing his nutrients out of balance. Even a small amount of licorice you eat can increase your blood pressure just a little bit, said Dr. Neil Butala, a cardiologist at Massachusetts General Hospital, who described the case in the New England Journal of Medicine. Eating as little as 2 ounces of black licorice a day for 2 weeks could cause a heart rhythm problem, especially for people over 40. The U.S. Food and Drug Association has warned. The problem is with a type of acid that is found in the black licorice and in many other foods and dietary supplements containing licorice root extract. The chemical substance can cause dangerously low potassium and imbalances in other minerals called electrolytes. It's more than licorice sticks. It could be jelly beans, licorice teas, a lot of things over the counter, said cardiologist Dr. Robert Eckel from the University of Colorado. Even some beers, like Belgian beers, have this compound in it, as do some chewing chewing tobacco, said Dr. Eckel, a former American Heart Association president. The death was clearly an extreme case. The man had switched from red, fruit-flavored twist to the black licorice version of the candy a few weeks before his death last year. He collapsed while having lunch at a fast food restaurant. I'm sure that didn't help. Emergency responders revived him with CPR, but he died the next day. Doctors found he had dangerously low potassium, which led to heart rhythm and other problems. The FDA permits up to 3.1% of a food's content to have this type of acid, but many candies and other licorice products don't reveal how much of it is on the contained per ounce. Doctors have reported the case to the FDA in hopes of raising attention for the risk. I mean, you can't even eat licorice these days. I would sooner eat licorice than chew tobacco. It's much more pleasant, better flavor. You still get that lip thing that we all want, you know, because us men who chew, and I don't chew, but I have friends who do, we all want that little lip thing, and it gives you that little bit of burning sensation that you just kind of go, oh, that's good. That's good. Anyways, deputies and animal service officers in Virginia responded to a resident's home where a turkey decided to pull a break and enter through a window and then barricaded itself in the bathroom. Yeah. Animal Services said a pair of Loudoun County Sheriff's Office deputies responded to a local home where a resident reportedly heard a window breaking, following by a sound of an apparent culprit moving through the home. Deputies responded and found the suspect had barricaded themselves in the bathroom. Animal Services said the culprit in this situation was about 3 feet tall with shiny black feathers, scaly legs, and a yellow beak. Oh, that actually sounds like my ex-mother-in-law. It was determined it would be taking a specialized team, probably SWAT, to extract this offender. You see, it's a wild turkey. An animal services officer responded to the call for backup and helped the deputies get the turkey out of the house. We're happy to report that while the turkey did take out the entire window in the family's home, he was unhurt and quickly fled the scene to roost in a near tree nearby. Damn turkeys. Finally, this person struck gold. Nope, not gold. How about diamonds? A visitor to Arkansas's Crater of Diamond State Park unearthed a 9.07 carat gem, the second largest diamond discovery in the park's history. Arkansas State Parks said Kevin Kennard was visiting the park with friends on Labor Day when he came across a marble-sized crystal with a rounded dimple shape. Oh yes, always the rounded dimple shape. It kind of looked interesting and shiny, so I put it in my bag and kept searching. I just thought it might have been glass, Kennard said. He then went on to say he didn't think anything of his discoveries would turn out to be valuable, but he decided to have them checked out by staff at the Diamonds Discovery Center because his friends wanted to have their finds examined as well. I almost didn't have them check my finds because I didn't think I'd found anything. My friend had hers checked, though, so I went ahead and I asked him to check mine, too. The employee going through Kennard's discoveries took the marble-sized crystal into the office for further examination, and a few minutes later, Kennard was brought into the office and told he had found a 9.07 carat diamond. I honestly teared up when they told me. I was in complete shock. Officials said that Kennard's discovery is the second largest to be found since the Crater of Diamonds became a state park in 1972. It's second only to a 16.37 carat white Amarillo starlight diamond found at the park in 75. Congratulations. I want to know what this thing's worth. You know, this story rips us off. It doesn't tell us what it's worth at all. It does not tell us what it's worth at all. I want to know. I want to know. Yes, he's decided to give his discovery a name that would honor a good time he had with friends of the park. The Kennard Friendship Diamond. Isn't that just sweet? How much is it worth, man? Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. What would you like to see more of if we changed up paranormal television shows a little bit? Nathan, More references available to public access so we can disprove findings for ourselves. That's actually a good idea. Jules, not sure I understand the question, darling. Well, you know what? Sometimes you have to translate what this old Canadian boy types out on Twitter. Marty, we need paranormal TV to be more diverse in its subject matter, more like paranormal radio is. Most of the shows are now about ghost hunting or UFOs. How about more shows on cryptids, witchcraft, or the afterlife? Thank you for the clown, Marty, and thank you for your service in the United States Air Force. Spookles, we need more cats. That's your answer to everything, Spookles, is cats. John and his Stetson. He's always wearing a Stetson. Even when he takes a shower, he wears a Stetson, allegedly. Inside the Actors Guild style 2-person interview hosted by either Travis Walton or Chris Bledsoe, experiencers interviewed by experiencers. Quinoa, otherwise known as quinoa, but he doesn't spell it that way. How about the fake made-up BS gets taken out? I guess I just repeated myself. Also, the stereotype that shadow people are evil, and I hate when those investigators get scared by every single noise. Why are you acting scared? I agree with you, Quinoa. Eric, to be more honest with their findings, show more debunking, get more into the history of each location. More reenactments on each scenario. Oh, I hate reenactments. No need to watch investigators walking around half the episode. Sarah, reports coming in from Skinwalker Ranch, not nearly enough updates. All right. Mike wants more closed-circuit television. Alex, my ideas, my expeditions, but with hundreds of thousands of, if not millions of dollars, because we can solve every single mystery that's out there. Every single one. At least I can. And of course he does it shirtless because that's what he does. He loves doing it shirtless. Debbie, truth, reality, and more on how we ourselves are affected the environment and can cause odd things to happen in our surroundings. John, less sensationalism and more good, solid paranormal shows. David, I'd like to see interviews with abductees and UFO witnesses and drawings of their experiences. I'm tired of people running around the woods with night vision goggles. Michelle, I want honesty. Heidi, it would be great to see more stuff like Hellier, who proved it can be done in an in-depth and yet very interesting way, instead of short investigations that clearly will not yield results. Darren, the public telling their true life stories in detail. Gabe, besides cowbell, we need more shadow people, dogman, and Mothman sightings discussed on TV. Wayne wants more honesty. And I would say Devin has a good one here. More paranormal scientific experimentation documentation series to also open the mind of those with the right brain thinking deficiency. Devin, you know how hard that was to read when you capitalized the first letter of every word? It was hard. Kelly, more people being scared of stray farts. Nicole wants seance circles. And finally, Davey, I want to see more Science Bob. Oh, yes. When you have more Science Bob, you have a better time, because we can all use a little bit more Science Bob in our life. Thank you to everybody participating in the Thought of the Day. We'll do it again tomorrow on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you to Captain Shirk for the wonderful news, and Chuck Bergman, our guest tonight, the psychic cop. We got the birthday boy, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone participating in our chat rooms on Spreaker, YouTube, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club at our website, and all the snarkers and snarkettes playing around on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, say it with me, we own the night, Mr. Bumblefoot. We need a favor We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But tomorrow, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we have room for them too. Much love. Have a good night. Good radio right there. Good job. Good job tonight. You did well. Good job, people. Oh, that's good stuff. Good stuff right there. Fantastic guest, Corrance, the booking guy. Fantastic guest. Thanks for taking us home, Roy. Thank you. Appreciate that, bud. I need that shit every night. You know that. Every single night. A man, Roy. He's like, fuck yeah, bring it home, Captain. Bring it home. I love you guys. Honestly, I do. Absolutely love you guys. I'm just going to download this, so bear with me. I'll be a few minutes here. Stay tuned. There's 97 of you. Let's see how many of you stick around. Had a gnome fall. Gotta remember the window's open. Hope nothing crawled in here. That would kind of suck. If it did. Totally. Oh well. You guys tell me, do we have a rat or anything come through here? Don't need that one right now. Alright, let's move that up. That over here. Alright. Let's go over here for a second. Bring that there and bring that over here. And let's bring what the hell am I looking for? Oh, I know what I need to do. You know, it isn't a good night until Ron starts retracting his comments in the Facebook chat room, so make sure everybody has a drink for that. Yeah. All right. Got the music a little quiet on that one. All right, let's go like this. Let's go like this. We'll go like this. That's probably where the first break is, right there. I gotta turn that. Thumbs down, thumbs sideways. Hit that subscribe button, YouTube. Here we go. Ow. Yeah. Nice even levels. Look at that. Look how pretty that is. That's an SOR 1 right there. So here's something kind of cool. I like patterns. So I don't know. I just really enjoy patterns. And so I go while I was outside running my dogs out. I go and I was on Instagram there for a couple of minutes. And okay, that would have been the commercials right there. That's okay that they were quiet. And anyways, like 9 of the first 10 posts I had were from people who literally were from Vegas. Now, for me, and my love for Las Vegas, I'm trying to figure out what that means. Maybe it's time that we got to start planning something for Vegas. That's what I think it means, to be honest. Excuse me. Tomorrow night we have the round table, where we're going to be joined by Nicole Sakic, Roy from the chat room here, because I love Roy and I think he brings good stuff. First time person on here. We have Corinth, the booking guy. Yes, everyone. Corinth, the booking guy, is going to be on here. You guys wanted him. I made it happen. That's just how I roll around here. I made it happen. Corinth, the booking guy, everyone. Gotta figure out who else is going to be on there. I think Lynn is going to join us as well.
So
and on in there as we are going to go to break at the top of the right after this. Yes. 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 I know. I thought that too. And about 10 seconds. Oh, there we go. Friend.
Good night.
For your enjoyment, stay tuned. All right, we got those all done. And let's bring this in here. Let's convert these. Maybe the 23rd or 24th. 24th. All right, let's go here. Well, first off, let's go here. Let's go here. It's kind of cool. How do you like the new background behind me where you get to see all the stuff like books and guitars and pictures and everything put up there? How do you like that? Just out of curiosity. All right, get your verification codes ready because we are about to verify sending this email or this file to our radio stations. Your verification code for tonight is 568731. That's 568731. Use it wisely when you verify because we want you to all be safe with the verification codes, that's for sure. Sandra, you always get it. You're just so brilliant. Yeah, but you never saw the hot sauce collection before. Oh, I'm into this current story right now. I forgot. I totally forgot to ask him about the other stuff too. Totally forgot to ask him about breakfast for dinner and stuff, so I apologize. What are the tags hanging? Those are tags that for conferences that I have spoke at. That's what those tags are. Now, let's just upload this. There we go. What is behind the Santa hat? That is my Canadian flag. And the window, or I have the window open, and so the flag is kind of moving. That's what that is. Those alien heads are actually candles. Yeah, I forget the lady who I had make those. I got them in like 2015. I'm loving the new setup, to be honest. I just can't wait to figure out the YouTube side of things where I can learn how to edit and get that going. Alright, the one is done. The other one, we got just a few seconds left. So, I guess it's about time for us to end this for the night, because I got to be up early. I got to get up about half an hour earlier than I normally do, so that way I can do an interview, talking Spaced Out Radio on an interview in Toronto. So I appreciate all of you tuning us in tonight, and we'll kind of go from there. But Thank you so much for everything that you guys do. Tomorrow night we have the SOR Roundtable, and don't forget to support us and what we do. You can always hit the super chat. You can always hit that thumbs up or thumbs down. We can always hit that subscribe button, share the show, do whatever you need to do. Support us on our website, spacedoutradio.com. You know, the people who advertise with us, like Mighty Moose Beard Oil, like our Space Travelers Club for $5 a month, like our store, the SOR Vault, and we will make sure that we have a good night. Tomorrow night it's the round table. It'll be about all the month that was, and I think we're going to have a good time. So you guys take care. We'll talk to you all tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, 10 o'clock Alberta time, Central Time, 11, Maritimes, 1 in the morning, 1:30 in Newfoundland. Take care. I got to go to the other screen. I forgot. Okay, now, take care.